From the world of the endless DC universe, we bring you yet another story, and this time we focus on Lucifer Morningstar. Time and space aren't the same for gods and lords of hell, and they often find themselves forgetting the future that they have just returned from. The presence has often influenced the ushering in of such events, but even the presence has its limits. But Lucifer doesn't. And when an unlikely ally, Gabriel, shows up on his door to kill him, the former Lord of Hell can't help but wonder what machinations are afoot and where this tiny detail is going to lead him. If you're a fan of our Sandman video, then you're surely going to love this one. Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and let's get this party started. Lucifer, issue number 1. The Devil is Back. This is the story of the same Lucifer Morningstar we got familiar with in the Sandman saga we published on the channel a year ago. It was Los Angeles 2015 when Lucifer first stepped onto Earth and began to influence the city. When the Devil arrived, he was driving a long white convertible, the top was down, his hair was flying in the wind, and with that he was leaving the smell of brimstone in his wake. And so when he rolled in, his influence slowly began to affect those around him. Like the armed robbery by kids at a local grocery store. Well, not armed exactly. They were armed with water guns filled with bleach. Still dangerous though. They robbed the store's entire candy stock. Then there was the more sinister kind of crime. Starlets murdering their abusive directors, sharks swimming in shallow water at the beach all day long, and the nobodies suddenly wanting to become somebodies. Lucifer bought a piece of property at the edge of the strip when he arrived in Los Angeles, and then started hiring people who wouldn't be missed. Runaways, the homeless, the undocumented ones, that kind. This was Lucifer building his new empire, and thus arose his exclusive monument to all the sins in white marble, the X-Lux, his piano bar and club for all the elite of Hollywood and more. The Devil was back, and though we won't like to admit it, we'd all missed him. What has Lucifer been up to since giving up hell? Well, Lucifer, the first and foremost beautiful of the angels, Lord of Hell, gave up his kingdom and then chased the Presence, the Prime Creator, out of heaven. Then he left our universe behind, in the care of a child, swearing to never return again. A demon in hell is busy telling this story to his date on the beach and claiming that he and the Lord of Hell were the best of buddies, when suddenly, a comet crashes behind them at the beach. But upon a closer look, you'll realize that this is no ordinary comet. This is the Lord of Hell himself, and he has been stabbed by someone in his gut. Meanwhile, in Newark, New Jersey, at a crack house, a seemingly unremarkable man is woken up to the sound of biblical angels entering the abode. Everyone in the room instantly goes to sleep, everyone except an addict who is reading a book and seemingly goes unnoticed. One of the angels says, Gabriel, who was once the governor of Eden and the guardian of the West. Gabriel, who bedded a demon, who's lost his grace, who is now as human as Adam. Get up, brother. We are sent unto thee to bring you glad tidings. In line with his fallen angel status, Gabriel's attitude seems to have been changed as well, because as soon as he hears the voice, he tells them to fuck off. But the angels know Gabriel, and so they tempt him by offering his wings back, his old place in heaven. And so this prompts Gabriel to lash out. He screams, "You think you can come in here and tempt me, Raphael? And you, Raguel? What do either of you know about temptation? Your idea of sin is snickering when a wheel-shaped cherub slips and rolls down the hill." Raphael, however, has no time to accommodate Gabriel's outbursts. He gets straight to the point. He tells Gabriel that heaven needs him and that the Silver City is open to him once again. Gabriel stands defiantly in front of Raphael, which reveals his missing heart in front of the angels. Raphael remarks that it must be agony to walk around like a damned thing, and that he must long to be reunited with it. Gabriel looks away and buttons up his shirt, and this is when the only other awake mortal in the room swipes a feather from Raphael's wings. Raguel notices this and tells the boy, "I see you there, Lauren Hammond. I don't know how you have remained awake to witness this, but I perceive the true cause of your suffering. Go now from this sinful place and do not return." Meanwhile, back at the Lux, Lucifer stares in the mirror at his wound, which still hasn't healed. The demon Proofless is the one attending to him, and when he asks if he should summon someone for help, Lucifer hints that his family is visiting him soon. He then rambles about his family and how they eventually tend to show up every time he stays in one place too long. Proofless, however, stays focused on the task. He reminds Lucifer of his wound and states that it must surely hurt him a lot lot, and Lucifer smiles and says, "Life is pain-proofless. Wasn't that our motto once?" Anyway, I am to enjoy the opening night. I admit I've been starved for conversation. Remember that saying, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? Well, I don't know about how many, but if there was a pin like that, then it would be the Silver City, the place where Raphael and Raguel have just landed with Gabriel between their arms. Metatron, the Chancellor of Heaven, awaits their arrival and is instantly annoyed because Gabriel reeks of mortality. The fallen angel retorts that he's just smelling cheap whiskey, and this is when Metatron decides to let go of this matter. He tells Gabriel that heaven requires his service and then leads the fallen angel to the Tower of Unending High, where the Premium Noble is located, the Throne of Light, the seat of the Presence. For more than a decade, this seat has been empty. For more than a decade, the angels have waited for the Presence to return. Gabriel doesn't understand what he's supposed to be looking at here, and this is when Metatron says, "Look through the fissure. Look and see what might at first seem to be a dying star. Look." And despair. Gabriel's eyes widen with shock when he spots what he's supposed to see. He sees their father, unmoving and seemingly dead. Metatron confirms his suspicions and then tells Gabriel only the archangels have been allowed into this room. If the others were to discover this, or the dukes of hell, or gods from other pantheons, no one must know. Metatron then reveals that he has been summoned to heaven to find their father's murderer. If Gabriel finds out who did it and how it was done, he can have a new heart, new wings, and he can be as he were. Gabriel asks why he was the one chosen and not one of the archangels, and Metatron tells him that it is so they can keep the investigation a secret from the others. But Gabriel has an unexpected outburst upon hearing this. What does it matter? Our father is dead. We are nothing. Nothing is our beginning and end. There is no one to forgive me, no one to restore me, nothing. And this is when Metatron pulls out his flaming sword and places it under Gabriel's chin. He then angrily reminds Gabriel that they are the host of the Presence. They carry his word, including the fallen ones like Gabriel. He then tells Gabriel that Lucifer Morningstar has returned to Earth, and his timing is quite peculiar. Rumor has it that the Presence and Lucifer met in the void, which means that Lucifer was the last one to see their father. He then offers the sword to Gabriel and says, "If nothing else, then let vengeance guide your hand." And so, a few hours later, Lucifer is busy describing his escapades to one of his demons in the Lux. He tells the demon how he walked through a dark nebula just south of the easternmost star on Orion's belt, how he has passed between the multiverses, how he stood on the pillar of creation during his certain vacation away from our universe, when suddenly his persistent wound begins to ache, and that is when Gabriel enters the Lux while brandishing the flaming sword. Lucifer sips on his drink, and then Gabriel confronts him. "Stand and face me, Lightbringer," he screams, and Lucifer kindly asks him to calm down. He then offers Gabriel a free drink and hints at his certain fall from grace. In return, Gabriel declares his newfound love for the heavens and then slices Gabriel's bar seat into two pieces. The Lord of Hell narrowly avoids the attack, and then while dodging others, he says, "I hope you're not blaming me for the current state of affairs, because if so, there's a magician and a bat-winged lady you are selling strikingly short." But Gabriel is too angry to heed reason. He instead publicly blames Lucifer for killing their father, and this forces Lucifer to state the obvious. Because if the Presence was dead, Lucifer would be the first one to know, and he would definitely know the Presence was dead if he was the one to do it. But Gabriel doesn't see reason. He continues blaming Lucifer for the Presence's death, and this forces Lucifer to remind Gabriel that the omniscient, omnipotent, and the omnipresent Presence is even too big for his own britches. Whatever happened, whatever Gabriel thinks happened, it was all part of the Presence's design. He then says, "That old bastard never did anything without a plan. Now stop swinging that thing at me." And with that, Lucifer grabs the flaming sword, which forces Gabriel to point out that the former Lord of Hell is bleeding. Lucifer pours his blood from his bleeding hand into a bowl while reminding Gabriel that he is no longer as powerful as he once used to be. But that doesn't mean that he still doesn't have connections in lowly places. But then Gabriel coldly tells Lucifer that he wasn't talking about his hand, which makes Lucifer lift up his shirt and address the persistent wound in his torso. Morningstar says, "There's a splinter of some subtle matter in my side, worming its cold way towards my heart. That's why I came home." For Gabriel, Lucifer looks guilty to the core. He comes back with a wound from a formidable fight, a wound that won't heal, a fight against someone powerful enough to face him, a fight Lucifer surely won, because the former Lord of Hell never loses. This is when Lucifer denies winning the fight, and Gabriel casually mentions that there's a reason Lucifer is called the Prince of Lies. And so Lucifer says, "I tempt, I deceive, I am cruel, and I am ruthless, but I dislike being forsworn." Gabriel doesn't understand what Lucifer is talking about, and so Morningstar explains everything to him in common terms. Lucifer is going to help Gabriel find the Presence's murder because no one gets to kill God other than Lucifer himself. After that proclamation, Lucifer lights a match, throws it into the bowl of blood, and begins his ritual. In that moment, Lucifer tells Gabriel, "And I'm also going to do this because he was my father too." Meanwhile, Lauren Hammond stands outside the crack house in Newark with a woman who is presumably his dear friend and possibly his love interest. Who set the crack house on fire? What happened to those that were inside? Did the angels do this when they left? No one knows, but as Lauren stares into the fire, he tells his friend about his encounter with the angels earlier. The woman naturally calls him stupid, but Lauren knows what he saw. And today's encounter reminds him of his manipulative father's teachings, how he would proclaim that the prophet would go on to become an angel once he died. What his father didn't tell him was the fact that angels could be hella scary. And this is when Lauren's friend, Lula, reminds him that this is the same father who kicked him out of his house at the age of 15. Not only that, this is the same guy who performed an exorcism on Lauren at the age of 12, just because his son dared to talk back at him. Lauren sighs and kicks a rock as he says, "Yeah, I guess even a real dick can be right sometimes." Remember the demon who was having a date at the beach in hell? How he was gloating that Lucifer was his best buddy? Yeah, that demon is currently racing through the streets towards the penultimate castle. After being razed to the ground, hell built itself once more, although this time it leaned heavily on the classics. Still, with those beachfront condos on the River of Fire and figure skating on the Lake of Blood, hell is still the finest place in any world to be tortured for all of eternity. The sprinting demon darts through the marketplace and bumps into one of the small cages, and this is when a decapitated head screams out at him, "Hey, watch it, buddy!" As he continues, he races past demons torturing condemned souls, and then he finally reaches the castle. He slams the doors open and declares, "Lucifer, he's back!" And we see that he is face to face with the new queen of hell, the demon Mazikeen, who coldly declares, "Lies will curry no favor with me." And this is when the demon falls to his knees and explains to the queen of hell that Lucifer is indeed back. Lucifer opened a portal to hell that he himself witnessed, and things don't bode well for hell or Mazikeen now that Lucifer Morningstar has returned. Lucifer, issue number 2, Lady Lucifer. We start this issue in Sulphur, Oklahoma with a quote from Owen Meredith, Lord Lytton, that reads, "The devil, my friends, is a woman just now, 'tis a woman who reigns hell." We then see a portly woman named Tina Hornick entering her parents' home after their passing. She grew up in this little house. It doesn't hold a lot of good memories for her, yet she is the one coming back to clean it out anyway. And that's because Tina has always been a pushover all her life. She has always allowed people to walk over her, people like her little sister, who could barely afford to stay for the entire funeral of their parents. Towards the end of their lives, Tina's mother and father spent a lot of time at garage sales, buying things they swore were amazing bargains, things like a chrome hot point toaster that her father believed he could repair, a taxidermied mouse in a shadow box posed like a teacher in front of a blackboard, 3 fondue pots, and this was all the stuff that her parents chose to give away, which is why Tina wasn't looking forward to seeing what they had kept for themselves. And so that night when Tina sleeps in the house, the red jar with demonic faces on it on the dressing table goes seemingly unnoticed. However, when she wakes up, the demonic jar begins to speak to her and it begins to play on her insecurities. The demon says, "So let me get this straight. You had to take time off work, get the school to call in a substitute, drive all the way down here, all because your little sister couldn't bother to get a babysitter?" The demon continues to twist her mind. He tells Tina that her little sister thinks that she's worthless. It's the reason why she told him to bring down the diamonds she finds so that they can fairly divide them. But Tina seems to be one step ahead, because although she knows that she is supposed to share the diamonds with her sister, nobody said anything about the rings that she has just found. Meanwhile, back at X-Lux, Gabriel is busy trying to get the shard of metal out of Lucifer's body. Gabriel's clumsy, but ultimately he manages to get a piece of the shard out of Lucifer's body. The metal is unusual. It moves while Gabriel holds it with the tweezers, and this is when Lucifer reminds him that he can feel the shard slowly moving towards his heart. This is when Gabriel jokes that it's a shame that the Prince of Hell has no heart. However, in that moment, Gabriel loses control over the piece of metal and it instantly flies through the air and stabs Lucifer in the chest. Lucifer screams, grabs the piece of metal before it penetrates his skin, and then sets it ablaze while shooting daggers at Gabriel. Gabriel then reveals that he has seen that metal before. A big piece of the same metal was sticking out of their father's seemingly dead body. Lucifer finds this curious because this means that their father was slain by the same weapon that pierced him. Gabriel continues to take jabs at Lucifer and then gloats that he was the one who found the first clue in the mystery they're trying to solve. all, and this prompts Lucifer to tell him that they will need to go to hell, because surely such a metal comes from a misbegotten land like hell, a place where everyone wants to kill Lucifer and the presence. While this goes on back in Newark, Lauren is leaving town and his friend, Lula, can't seem to understand the sudden change to his mood and psyche. Lauren tells her that it's the feather. He knows the thing is pulling him somewhere, and for some reason he knows he needs to follow it and see what the feather wants to show him. Lula screams, "That's the same religious shit you grew up with, except now you're doing it to yourself." Lauren sighs. He knows Lula's right, yet he can't explain why he so strongly feels the pull and the urge to follow it. Lula is clearly sad at the departure of her friend, but she ends up having another outburst when a janitor tells her that she can't smoke at the bus station. Back in the X-Lux, Gabriel expresses his apprehension over going to hell. Lucifer isn't exactly welcome in that realm anymore. Lucifer jokes that Gabriel will like it there. However, this is when Gabriel steers the conversation and asks Lucifer who attacked him, who stabbed him with the mysterious metal. And this is when Lucifer reveals that he battled himself in the void. And because that's impossible, it means that whatever it was that attacked Lucifer wished to hide its identity desperately. Deception, mysterious metal, attacking Lucifer, and killing the presence. This practically has hell and demons written all over it. And so, Lucifer opens a portal and Gabriel reluctantly follows him. Meanwhile, back in Sulphur, Tina is meeting her school friends, Kevin and Grace. They welcome her warmly into their home and show her photos from their daughter's wedding. They are very kind to Tina, but for Tina, this is something sinister. And that's because Tina used to date Kevin when they were in high school. Kevin eventually dumped her for her then best friend Grace. And the sad part about all of this is that Tina misses Grace a lot more than she misses Kevin. And this is when the demon in the jar begins to spin his web once again. He tells Tina that the two of them hate her. They think she is nothing, which is why they love to rub their perfect little lives in her face. This shakes Tina up. She begins to shiver, and to avoid raising suspicion, she heads to the bathroom while discreetly carrying the demon with her. In the bathroom, the jar continues to torment her, and Tina finally tells it to shut up. The demon then tells Tina that it can help her. It can help Tina fix things with Kevin and Grace, with her little sister. If she simply lets it out of the jar, the demon will take care of all of them with utmost prejudice. And Tina seems to like this idea. The demon seems to have given her imagination some fuel, and so instead of letting the demon out, Tina walks out of the bathroom and grabs a knife from the kitchen as she walks towards Grace and Kevin. Meanwhile, Lucifer and Gabriel arrive in hell only to discover that a lot has changed here. Not only humans, but demons have been tortured as well, and many of them have been impaled on stakes just like the humans. As Lucifer and Gabriel casually assess their surroundings, a still surviving demon reaches out to Lucifer. He tells Lucifer to beware, and this is when the two fallen angels find themselves facing a formidable group of demons. This is going to be a fight, and so Gabriel pulls out Metatron's flaming sword, while Lucifer grabs one from the first demon who dares to attack him. Lucifer slices the demon's throat and flies into the air, while Gabriel desperately holds his own on the ground. Lucifer stabs the huge demon directly in the head, and this is when Asmodeus and his lackeys show up to rescue them. They grab Gabriel and Lucifer and fly away, and as they do so, Asmodeus tells Lucifer that hell has a queen now. Mazikeen, daughter of Lilith, is now the queen of hell. Now, sometime later, Gabriel and Lucifer are being treated to a lavish feast in Beelzebub's palace. The lavish feast, of course, means feasting on humans, something that is too ordinary for Lucifer, but too freaky and unnatural for Gabriel. It doesn't take long for the other demons to notice that Gabriel is an angel, but this discovery is soon buried by the joyous celebrations of Lucifer's return, heralded by Asmodeus himself. Beelzebub, who has now taken the form of a humanoid fly, then speaks up and tells Lucifer that in his absence, the demons have campaigned in his name to take the infernal lands back. Lucifer, however, is quick to see through his deception. Beelzebub and Asmodeus are simply using his name to rally the demons so that in the end, they can be the ones ruling hell. Gabriel is bored, annoyed, and frustrated by all the politics, but the other demons quickly drown him out with talks of their own motives and dreams, and how they wish that hell was back to its former glory days under the rule of Lucifer. This is when a succubus approaches Gabriel and tries to seduce him. Gabriel, however, changes the subject and says, "Actually, there's something I want to ask. If I described a metal, black but kind of oily, would you know what that might be?" The succubus tells Gabriel that she might have seen something like that in Beelzebub's private chambers, and though it might be hard to get there, it's not impossible. Lured by the prospect of finding the metal that killed his father, Gabriel decides to go along with the succubus, and part of that decision might have been made in haste, at the sight of the huge human pot pie that has just been brought to the table. While the pot pie is being served, Gabriel is being held at knife point in Beelzebub's chambers. Beelzebub then quietly enters so as not to raise suspicions, because he has some very pertinent questions for Gabriel. Moments later, we find Gabriel, flayed and hung from chains over the fires of hell, and now that sufficient pain has been inflicted, Beelzebub begins to ask his questions. What is Lucifer doing here, Angel? What is his plan? But Gabriel knows his brother too well, and thankfully his eyes haven't been gouged out, which means he can see Lucifer's silhouette in the doorway. And so he says, I don't know Lucifer's plans. Even if I thought I did, he would have only told me what he wanted me to repeat to you. Beelzebub knows that Gabriel speaks the truth, and this only angers him further. Beelzebub pulls a lever by his side which plunges Gabriel into the fires of hell. Asmodeus enters the room to tell Beelzebub that they're under attack, and the two presumably leave while Gabriel is charred to a crisp in the fire. However, once the demons are gone, Gabriel uses the chain to yank himself out of the pit. He is about to curse Lucifer, however this is when the Prince of Hell shows up to sever his chains. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, Tina is busy massacring Kevin and Grace, while the demon in the jar screams, "This is unfair! You were supposed to let me out! I was supposed to be doing the stabbing. Seriously, this sucks." We then see Lucifer flying a naked Gabriel towards his former throne. Gabriel has healed significantly by now. His skin is back, and Lucifer drops him in front of the throne, where Mazikeen now rests, her hands nailed to the throne. Her demons try to get Lucifer to kneel before her, but Mazikeen dismisses them. Lucifer reaches out to her like an old friend, asks who dared imprison her here, but Mazikeen lashes out and screams, "I am the ruler of hell. I am the Lightbringer. Do not presume on our old friendship." She then dismisses her guards, and though they try to warn her, Mazikeen forces them to leave her throne room. She then notices that Lucifer kept her scar, and he tells her, "You said I would be a coward if I did not." And Mazikeen replies, "I didn't think you cared what I had to say." Gabriel then interrupts the heartfelt reunion and reminds them that the rest of hell is out to get him, so they should get to business as soon as possible. Lucifer and Gabriel tell Mazikeen about the metal, which for some reason causes her to lash out once again, and she hisses at Lucifer, "I've seen nothing like the metal you described, but a piece of you is missing. Who knows how much of you will be left if you don't remove the shard soon? My mother could tell you more." Lucifer dares to remind Mazikeen that her mother Lilith is dead, and Mazikeen then reminds him that Lilith still lives in the dreams of men. Now that Mazikeen has told them all she could, she orders them to leave hell. However, this is when Lucifer says, "I could free you. Command me, Mazikeen, and I will not fail you." But Mazikeen reminds Lucifer that he has already failed her, and her command for him is to go and leave hell. Lucifer turns around and begins to walk away, and when Gabriel follows, Mazikeen stops him and says, "As for you, Archangel, I would make a better master. I want nothing from hell, nothing. That will not always be the case." When Gabriel catches up to Lucifer, he asks if this was all just an excuse to see Mazikeen, and though Lucifer doesn't deny it, he says something more mysterious. "I came here looking for suspects, for motive and opportunity, but what I found I must consider further." Lucifer then tells Gabriel that they are now going to dreaming, and Gabriel says, "Oh great, just fantastic. Good thing the King of Dreams isn't famous for being an enormous grudge holder." Lucifer, issue number 3, Mothers of All. We begin this issue in Norman, Oklahoma with the quote, "We must remember that Satan has his miracles too," by John Calvin. The issue begins with the story of Medjean, a young orphan from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, who was recently adopted by a white family in Norman. Her family's whole church had fundraisers to support her adoption, which is why Medjean contains and restrains herself because she doesn't want to seem ungrateful. But then again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that a bunch of racists have adopted her to improve their own standing in the church. Her adoptive mother screams at Medjean as she sits outside calmly reading her book, A Wrinkle in Time. The woman screams at her because Medjean's skirt is dirty, and after she is done screaming, she orders her other daughter to take Medjean to the bathroom to get cleaned up. Medjean calmly answers that she can clean her skirt on her own, and this is when the furious woman screams, "In this house, we don't talk back! How many times do I have to remind you? We'll talk about your punishment after church." March. As the days pass, Medjean can't help but wish that she was back at the orphanage with her brothers and sisters. Her new family doesn't treat her like them. In fact, they don't treat her like their other children. They force her to wash their dishes, and they don't think of her like their other kids, no matter what she does. At night, as she walks by her new adoptive parents' bedroom, she overhears them talking about her. The woman nastily tells her husband, "I thought she'd be a little girl, but she's practically a woman already. I'm afraid one of our boys is going to start looking." And this is when the man replies, "The devil's using her to get a foothold in this family." Meanwhile, Lucifer and Gabriel have reached the dreaming, and they now stand before the gates of ivory and the gates of horn. Lucifer hesitates to enter. He doesn't know which gate he's supposed to choose. One of the gates admits dreams that are lies and deceptions, while the other admits dreams that are truths. Lucifer chooses the gates of horn, and as he enters, he wonders if what Mazikeen said was true, that her mother Lilith wasn't dead everywhere. Could it be that there's a version of Lucifer here, one that stayed behind after he departed? He wonders what happens when you meet yourself in dreams. They don't have to walk far before one of Dream's servants shows up. They are now face to face with Matthew the Raven. Matthew is here to escort them on their mission in the dreaming, partly because Dream wants to keep an eye on them, and partly to ensure that they don't knock on his castle's door. Because if they're here to go to the castle, Matthew is supposed to take them to one of the soft places and lead them around in circles for thousands of years. Gabriel is too enamored by the dreaming to pay attention to Matthew's words. One moment there's nothing, and then the next, a giant made out of shadows is crossing their path. Gabriel tries to bring this to Lucifer's attention, but Lucifer doesn't get distracted. He knows there's much at play here, and so before he is distracted, he quickly tells Matthew that they are here to see Lilith. Matthew nods and leads them to Eve's cave, and Lucifer is surprised that Lilith would be here. This is when the owl on Eve's shoulder flies up and transforms into Lilith as it lands. Lilith calls Lucifer a trickster, and it's clear that there's some bad blood between the two of them. Back in Norman, Oklahoma, for the second night, Medjean is being forced to sleep in a closet. She can hear the rest of them having dinner. She can smell the chicken that they are eating. All Medjean got for dinner was a sandwich made with bread soaked in water. Medjean is being punished because she dared to message her brother, Leander, who was adopted by a single lady in New Jersey. The law and their wishes made it clear that they weren't to be separated, yet they still were. Some of what she said to her brother was in Creole, something her family, the Parkers, didn't like. They assumed she was saying bad things about them. The next day, she was beaten with a piece of plastic tubing, and despite that, the 15-year-old Tommy Parker had the audacity to ask her if the bruises would even show up on her skin because it was so dark. Medjean had to bite her tongue so that she didn't get in more trouble, and all she could do in that moment was to let her tears flow. That night, she was locked in the closet again, and now that she was alone with her thoughts, she did her best to justify the actions of the abusive Parkers. One's got to be a good person to take in an orphan, right? The Parkers believe themselves to be good people too, but Medjean can't help deny the truth that the Parkers can't stand the sight of anyone who makes them doubt it. Back in the dreaming, Gabriel, Lucifer, Eve, and Lilith sit at the dining table. Gabriel has been given a sheet to wrap his naked body, as Lilith remarks that her daughter Mazikeen might remember her with a little fondness, after all, because she sent Lucifer here. Lucifer tells her that Mazikeen remembers her as she was, and this is when Lilith says, "Is that how you hope she remembers you, Morningstar?" And then Lilith can't contain her anger anymore. She gets up and screams at Lucifer that he could have had it all. He could have had heaven. He could have had hell. Humans have called him the prince of this world for as long as anyone can remember. Yet Lucifer threw it all, just like the Marx fellow. He never wanted to be the president of any club that would have him as a member. Lucifer calmly tells her that's not how the saying goes, and this is when she gets in his face and screams, "You want what you can't have. Too bad you've already had everything. Poor spoiled Lucifer, daddy's favorite. No hill left to climb?" And Lucifer snarkily replies, "Poor ghost, so much tempest, so little target." Lilith then declares, "You came for a story about a shard? Well, I'll give you one." She then begins telling the story of the time when the world was still new. Azazel was not as corrupt as he would eventually become. He was the eater of sins. He sat on a hill and the nearby village would feed him. They would give their sins to a goat and then send it into the wilderness. Azazel would eat the goat and the village's sins along with it, but the more sins Azazel ate, the more his hunger grew. This is when Eve interrupts the story and begins asking Lilith tons of questions. Were the villagers really feeding their sins to Azazel, or was it just what they believed? Was Azazel a con artist, or did he really want to help the villagers? Lilith tells her to simply wait to find out, but Eve is impatient. She asks Lilith directly whether Azazel is a hero in the story or whether he's a villain, and this prompts Lilith to air out her dirty laundry. She says, "That's your problem in a nutshell, Eve. You want everything simple. You want to be spoon-fed." And Eve angrily retorts, "And your problem is that you never asked the important question. When the snake offered you a bite from the fruit of knowledge, you were probably all, 'Oh, no thanks, I already know everything.'" Gabriel reminds them that time is of the essence. If they want to argue, they have all of eternity to do so after they're gone. And this is when Matthew chimes in and remarks, "Yeah, it's the Eternal Ex-Wives Club over here." Lilith continues the story and tells us that there came a time when Azazel was no longer content with the sins he received. He started stalking the edges of the village and began whispering, encouraging people to do even greater misdeeds. People began killing, people began cheating on their spouses, but it didn't stop there. They were overindulged, had orgies, and murdered when the deed was done. None of them knew when to stop, and so the elders of the clan went to a wise woman named Ofra Ori and asked her how they could destroy Azazel, and she told them that an immortal can only be killed by another immortal. They pressed her for more answers. Azazel was the only immortal they knew, and Ofra Ori said, "Since Azazel himself is an immortal, I suppose that he could be killed with a piece of himself." And so that night, while the elders puzzled and pondered over what they were supposed to do, the chief's granddaughter came up with a gruesome scheme. She was painted, perfumed, dressed in linen, and she then went to Azazel. Azazel couldn't refuse her, and he dullied with her at the banks of the river for 3 days and 3 nights. At the end of it, she was with child. She bore him 2 sons, twins named Nathan and Caleb. Where Nathan was dark, Caleb was right. Where Nathan laughed, Caleb was quiet. Where Nathan was bold, Caleb shrank back and was afraid. From birth they were raised for a single purpose like cattle, and so when they became men, Caleb was parted from Nathan and slain. His blood was collected in a bucket, and that blood was used to quench a sword forged from metal that had fallen from the heavens. Nathan never knew why Caleb was slain. To him, his brother was killed for no reason. Then the villagers brought the sword to Nathan so that he might use it to kill his father. Overwhelmed with the horror of the deed that had been done and the deed that was to come, Nathan wandered the wilderness aimlessly, weeping and whispering to the sword that had once been his brother. The sword soaked up Nathan's tears, his fury. It sang with his grief and rage. It sang with its own desire for vengeance. Nathan found Azazel and cut him down, and in his last moments, Azazel transferred all his powers to his son, his immortality, his knowledge that had been given when he was made. Azazel gave it all to Nathan, but in doing so, he transferred all the sins he had been carrying, and those sins burned under Nathan's skin. He went back to his village and slaughtered every last man, woman, and child. And in that moment, the world didn't know that man for Nathan. They called him Azazel as they died, and Azazel thus he became. Azazel was then bound and cast into darkness by Raphael at the orders of the Lord. An opening in the desert in Dudale was created, and Azazel was trapped there. Gabriel thinks the story can't be true. After all, Azazel was part of the triumvirate of hell, but that doesn't concern Lucifer. What's more important is Azazel's sword, and Lilith tells him that it's still likely buried in the desert where Azazel was once trapped. Meanwhile, on Earth, Medjean and the 2 little Parker kids are dropped off by a churchgoer in Sulphur, Oklahoma. They're here to spread the word of God, and so they go from door to door preaching their religion. As expected, at the front door, they encounter an exhausted new mother who shoos them away. On the second door, they encounter a rude man who threatens them with trespassing. And unfortunately, on the third door, they are face to face with Tina, who warmly welcomes them into Kevin and Grace's home. Medjean notices that something sinister is up. Tina has all of her stuff packed, and she is acting awfully nice towards them. No one ever invites them into their homes, so why is she being so nice to them? Medjean tries to leave, but Tina lures the little one with some lemonade, and so she is forced to stay. When Tina goes to the kitchen, we see Grace and Kevin's decomposing bodies propped up on the dining table. The demon jar is on the table, and it comments how Tina has been on a murder spree lately. Medjean, meanwhile, tries to drag the little Parkers away, but they fight back while insolently telling her that she's not their real sister. When Tina comes in with the lemonade, the demon jar is on the tray she carries, and behind her, Kevin and Grace's bodies are clearly visible. Medjean and the Parker girl seem to notice the bodies, but the little boy doesn't. Back in the dreaming, Gabriel grabs hold of a flying Matthew in an attempt to get some answers. He is quite suspicious of Dream and thinks that he's hiding something. If Lucifer wants to treat this case as a way for him to get therapy, then good for him. But Gabriel is here here to solve a case, and he is going to do so this instant. Lucifer warns Gabriel that Matthew isn't a bird, but Gabriel continues manhandling Matthew and says, "This bird is going to take me where the Dream King is hiding Azazel, and then I'm going to finish this myself." However, this is when Matthew transforms. His entire body forms thorny vines and traps Gabriel in them. As a horrified Gabriel yelps out in pain, Lucifer tells him about Matthew. Matthew Cable died in the dreaming and became a raven, but that's not Matthew Cable. The ravens then multiply and begin to peck at Gabriel's body. They snap off his skin, gouge out his eyes, and tear into his heart. In unison, the birds say, "We remember what you don't, Gabriel. Your dream remembers." And when Gabriel wakes up from his torment, he finds himself face to face with Lucifer, who is dressed like a noir detective, and beside him are Eve and Lilith, posing as his secretaries. Gabriel is baffled by this entire scene, and Lucifer tells him that the big war left all of them a little disillusioned, the war in heaven, but even if that may be the case, they still have a case to solve. Gabriel then dejectedly states that he just wants things to go back to as they were at the beginning, when everything made sense. And this is when Lucifer tells him that he has always been a sucker. He doesn't realize that this isn't reality. This is simply a dream. Lucifer then vanishes, and Lilith tells Gabriel that he has gone into his own dream now. Lucifer stands in nothingness as Elaine Belloc, daughter of Michael Demirgos, descends. Elaine is the one who stepped into the void that the presence left when he departed the universe before his demise. Elaine Belloc shirked those duties. Lucifer states that this is a dream, and Elaine corrects him and tells him that whether a dream or not, this moment is real. Elaine chides and scolds her uncle for not telling her what it's like being the presence, how much you get blamed, how suffocating it is to be loved and hated, to rely on the belief of others. Lucifer tells her that he can't help her, and even if he could, the unfortunate part of this dream is that he is not talking to her, he is talking to himself. Meanwhile, back in Sulphur, Tina now holds the kids hostage with a huge steak knife in her hand. They're all shedding tears without making a sound as she calmly tells them about the demon she met while the jar sits beside her. She tells them that they shouldn't believe in God because doing so is fruitless. Killing is fun. She killed her friends and had a lot of fun. She wanted to do it over and over again, but there was no one left to kill. But then the three of them came, like lambs ready to be slaughtered. She tells them that life's not fair and neither is God. And this is when Medjean steps in to save the kids. And this is when the little boy speaks up and hits a nerve. He says, "Please let us go. Please. God will forgive you if you do." And this sends Tina spiraling over her tipping point. She stabs the boy in the chest over and over again while screaming "shut up" with each stab. This is when Medjean grabs her hand and screams for the other girl to run. The Parker girl bolts out of the door. Tina loses her grip on the knife, so she slams Medjean to the ground. This knocks over the table and the demon jar falls near Medjean. So while Tina is reaching for the knife, Medjean grabs the jar, gets up, and threatens to smash it over Tina's head. Tina threatens Medjean's life, tells her that the demon won't listen to her, but Medjean doesn't care. All she wants is to escape and save her life. The demon, meanwhile, continues wriggling and spewing out manipulative words. He promises to solve all of Medjean's problems, including the Parkers. But suddenly, the sound of police sirens penetrates the apartment, and in an instant, Tina knows that it's all over. It's too late, and Medjean was right about demons. They can't be trusted. She then puts the knife under her chin and slices her own throat. Medjean instantly becomes a hero. She now gets her own seat at the Parkers' table. The story? She saved her sister, became the town hero, helped catch a murderer. She was in the newspapers and everything. And then when she walked into the church, the pastor hugged her even though everyone was mourning the little Parker boy's death. The Parkers even allowed her to call her brother, Leander, to make sure he wasn't worried. There was absolutely no reason to worry now, but no one knew that Medjean now had the demon jar hidden in her own closet. In the dreaming, Gabriel now once again finds himself face to face with Lucifer, engaged in a game of checkers Waiki. He asks Lucifer if he's awake now, and Lucifer tells him that he's still dreaming, and that Gabriel hasn't been awake in a long time. Gabriel then tells Lucifer that every truth he reveals feels like a lie, and suddenly Lucifer chucks the board away and screams, "It seems that way, Gabriel, because you're still trying to solve the murder, but I already know who did it." Lucifer, issue number 4, Bad Dreams. We begin this issue with the Karl Kraus quote, "The devil is an optimist if he thinks he can make people worse than they are." Medjean is at the little Parker boy's funeral, and the Parkers have made it abundantly clear that they wish she were dead instead of him. Their demeanor, their treatment of her, and most importantly their outbursts have made it absolutely clear that they wish that she had died instead of him. Once they are back home and the family is busy parading their sorrow, Medjean quickly slips away to talk to her demon jar. The jar tells her what she already knows: the Parkers hate her, they're never going to love her, and they're never going to forgive her for living. They're going to eventually hurt her, and Medjean should expedite the process and hurt them first instead. But this suggestion, this push from the demon jar, reminds Medjean of a parrot that used to belong to one of her neighbors back in Port-au-Prince. That parrot would spew obscene things worse than you can imagine, and all you could do was ignore it. She tells the demon in the jar that he's a lot like that, something that should be ignored. The demon retaliates in a hurtful voice: "I am a very important demon." And this is when Medjean chuckles and apologizes to him. It is then that it becomes clear to the demon that Medjean is not interested in his help, and so he asks her why she brought him back, and Medjean tells him that she did so that no one else would get influenced by him. The jar in the wrong hands could be devastating. Just look at what Tina did. And what if someone feeble-minded listened to him and let him out? No, the demon needs to be treated like the parrot from Medjean's childhood. The demon needs to be simply ignored. Besides, Medjean has no one else to talk to. Meanwhile, in the dreaming, nightmares blow across its placid surface, swallowing up everything in their path, as Gabriel and Lucifer continue their journey. All logic is dream logic here. Things exist here that are lost in other places. Vestiges of places and people long gone, shadow selves, and Lucifer doesn't like this one bit. He wants out, but the dreaming doesn't want to cooperate with him. Eventually, when the landscapes no longer intrigue Gabriel, he asks Lucifer if Dream is toying with them, and Lucifer sternly tells him that the Lord of Dreams has no fondness for games or jests or fun of any kind. Gabriel then brings up the fact that Lucifer gave up his powers when he left Hell, and Lucifer tells Gabriel that he did so to no longer be constrained by their father's narrow worldview. Gabriel casually takes care of a dream trying to attack them using his flaming sword, and then asks Lucifer how they're going to get out of here. Lucifer then tells him about the back door in Yomi no Kuni, land of the dead. They will use it to escape the dreaming. Back on Earth, Medjean is in school with the Parker girl she saved when the girl asks her, "The demon didn't get you, did it?" Medjean doesn't understand what the girl is talking about, and so she explains, "Daddy says when you came from Haiti, you brought a demon with you, and that's what leaped into that lady. He says that everyone knew her, and she was a nice school teacher, so she must have been possessed because there's no other explanation. I said that she was the one who talked about a demon, but Daddy said that proved it, and I didn't mean to prove anything. Is it true, Medjean?" Medjean simply asks her if she thinks it's true, and this stumps the Parker girl. After a moment of silence, the Parker girl says that she heard her father saying something about an exorcism, and in an instant, Medjean knows that she needs to leave this place as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in the dreaming, Abel is busy playing I Spy with Goldie beside him when he suddenly spots Gabriel and Lucifer heading towards them. He runs to Cain to inform him about the same, and his older brother instantly orders him to hide in the house and to bar the door. Abel, however, doesn't understand what's the problem, and Cain is awfully ambiguous when he says, "I'm your elder brother, Abel, and I'm telling you, that one's dangerous. I don't like you being around dangerous people." Gabriel and Lucifer, meanwhile, walk through a graveyard when Gabriel questions Morningstar what his plan is. And this is when Lucifer reveals that many years ago he discovered that Izanami, the Japanese goddess of creation and death, was channeling dreamers into her underworld in secret to punish the souls without much effort on her part. It was ingenious, but highly illicit. Lucifer left some of his energy with Izanami before he departed this world, and he believes that he can call upon that goodwill to help find the back door to the dreaming that he has been searching for. Gabriel doubts that Izanami would let them leave the dreaming so easily, but Lucifer doesn't see a problem in that. He parted on good terms with her and kept her secret for this long. He sees no reason why Izanami should hinder their exit from the dreaming. And then they are face to face with one of Lucifer's corny dreams. A dream in which he is the stereotypical devil from media, red skin, small horns, goatee, and all that. Lucifer hides his face out of embarrassment, and we then switch to Medjean's house as she wakes up in the middle of the night. The demon jar once again eagerly offers to kill everyone for her, but she ignores it, hides under her dresser, and then calls Leander's mothers. She asks if she could talk to him, and the two ladies happily oblige, though they are very concerned about her. On call with Leander, Medjean meekly asks him if she can come and stay with him. She promises she won't cause any trouble, won't leave his room, and won't even ask for anything more than a sandwich. Leander makes an excuse to his mothers so that they don't get suspicious, and then goes to the bathroom to continue the conversation. While in there, he tells Medjean that she can come and stay for as long as she wants. He'll hide her from his mothers and feed her too. Medjean would like it there. She can sleep with Leander's stuffed animals. Meanwhile, back in the dreaming, Lucifer's stereotypical dream of the devil is wreaking havoc. Now grown to an enormous size, the dream angrily and defiantly states who he is and how he is going to kill the both of them. It breathes fire at Lucifer, which only annoys destroys the true devil because he has now lost his noir detective clothes. He angrily tells his dream, "You are a dream thing. You are mortal fear and mortal guilt and mortal desire." Lucifer then plunges his hand into his own dream's chest and kills it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Medjean has made her choice. I mean, the choice between an abusive family that is about to subject you to a forced exorcism and your long-lost brother who has two loving mothers and a room full of stuffed animals isn't exactly tough. Medjean has packed her little panda bag, has emptied her piggy bank, and is tiptoeing out of the Parker house when suddenly Mr. Parker wakes up and confronts her. Medjean bolts and the old hard man leaps at her and grabs her bag. Medjean shoves him away and manages to escape. Meanwhile, Lucifer and Gabriel are on their way to Izanami's place, the house of windowless rooms in the underworld. Lucifer is carrying Gabriel as usual, but now his injury has started hurting him. His side aches and he is forced to land before he reaches his destination. Lucifer is glad no one can see him this way because he doesn't want anyone to know how far the shard has traveled in his body, how weak he has become. Lucifer's wound begins to bleed and he simply winces and wipes it off on one of the pillars. After all, Lucifer is used to bluffing, and he can bluff a little bit longer. He slaps Gabriel and wakes him up, and the Archangel asks about the wings in front of him when he comes to consciousness. Lucifer tells him that they're his own wings, but what Gabriel doesn't know is the fact that Lucifer is struggling to come to terms that his wings are in Izanami's possession. When Lucifer left Hell, he left his wings behind with it, but he had never expected them to be sold to Izanami. He got his wings back and it cost Izanami 2 of her sons. Izanami tried to kill him and she's been his lover. Now he wonders what else she may have done. And this is when the door to the room is flung open and Lucifer instantly points the flaming sword at Susanoo no Mikoto. Izanami's son quips at Lucifer that his soul still isn't pure and then tells him that he is not welcome here. He wasn't invited here, which is why there is no reason Susanoo no Mikoto should treat him as an honored guest. Lucifer lunges at Izanami's son because there's no reason for pleasantries to be honored right now, but this is when Susanoo no Mikoto reminds him that if he kills him, then he would die here. Lucifer would never be able to make it out of this place. Lucifer demands answers instead. He wants to know how they have an exact identical copy of the wings that adorn his back, and this is when Susanoo no Mikoto screams, "They belong to us. We grew them from one of your feathers. When a farmer buys a squash, is he to be criticized for planting its seeds?" Meanwhile, on Earth, Medjean is hiding in the woods outside her home while Mr. Parker furiously calls out to her. He screams that he is the head of the household and demands that Medjean show herself this instant. And while this happens, the demon in the jar tells Medjean that it's too bad that she forgot to grab a knife from the kitchen, for if she had, they could have taken care of this problem relatively easily. She simply looks at the jar sadly, waits for the right moment, and then takes off running once again. This is when she comes across her neighbor walking her dog, and when the woman inquires Medjean about what is happening, Medjean simply excuses herself and tries to bolt away. Instead, she realizes that Mr. Parker is too close, and so she hides behind the tree, which gives the old woman the opportunity to ask what is going on. Thankfully, by now, Mr. Parker has gone back inside, and Medjean runs away as she tells her neighbor, "Sorry, Mrs. Higby, I really do have to go." As Medjean vanishes into the woods, a furious Mr. Parker confronts Mrs. Higby and says, "What did she say to you? That girl is a liar." Medjean, meanwhile, cuts across several streets, bolts through the woods, and finally reaches the bus station. There, she demands a ticket. Any ticket would do, as long as it is the bus that leaves next. Back in Izanami's realm, Lucifer angrily tells Susanoo no Mikoto what he's going to do to avoid the Prince of Hell's wrath. He is going to find him the person, the dreamer, whose nightmares are those of Azazel. Then he will leave here with both sets of his wings, and maybe, just maybe, Lucifer won't involve his mother in this matter. Susanoo no Mikoto agrees and then begins to lead them away. And as they do, Gabriel finally finds the courage to confront Lucifer. He dreamed that Lucifer knew who killed God. Gabriel thinks it's Azazel, but Lucifer knows that that's not the case. He tells Gabriel that Azazel didn't kill their father, and this prompts Gabriel to say, "I don't think you know. You just want me to think you're smarter than I am. That's how you get people to follow you, but it's not going to work on me." Lucifer simply ignores Gabriel, but Gabriel knows that Lucifer's strategy is working on him, and so he can't help but ask him for a hint as they reach the room of the dreamers in Izanami's realm. Back on Earth, Medjean finally feels good. She feels lighter than ever. She feels a sense of lightness she hasn't felt in years. She's in big trouble, yes, yes, but she can't bring herself to care. She has grabbed a map and is happily sketching the route to her brother's place, something she has done over and over again, a route that is etched in her heart. This is when a stranger offers a cup of coffee to her, a stranger who is Lauren Hammond, the teenager who was at the crack house in Newark. He introduces himself, tells Medjean that they're the only two people under 50 here, which is why they need to look out for each other. Medjean meekly asks him if this means that he is going to report her to the authorities, and Lauren scoffs and tells her that they're both runaways and they need to stick together. Meanwhile, Lucifer is sifting through the dreams, and in them he finds Tina's dreams of stabbing eternally, Medjean's dreams of a bus to her brother, and her dreams of the jar of demons. Now that he has found what he is looking for, Lucifer grabs some needle and thread and sews his second set of wings on Gabriel's back. Gabriel, with the gaping wound of his missing heart in his chest, asks Lucifer if this is the right thing to do, and Lucifer simply tells him that he doesn't care about right or wrong. He is simply tired of carrying Gabriel everywhere they go. Meanwhile, Susanoo no Mikoto has gone to convene with his mother. He tells Izanami, "Mother, I did what you said, but I wish I understood why we must bend to him." And his mother replies, "All will become clear, and then we will wash blood with blood." The angels take off flying and leave Izanami's realm behind and reach Earth. And a few minutes later, Lauren and Medjean's bus comes to a screeching halt outside New Jersey. Lauren wakes up to be face to face with Gabriel and Lucifer, and with the memory of Newark fresh in his mind, he knows that this means trouble. He wakes Medjean up, tells her that they need to run away. However, this is when Lucifer confronts Medjean and demands the jar that contains the demon. The demon in the jar, meanwhile, tells Medjean that she shouldn't listen to this guy, that this is the real devil, Samael, the poison of God. The demon begins to convince Medjean that the only way to avoid trouble here is by letting it out, and Lucifer warns her that what she's got there is quite dangerous. The demon in the jar promises to follow Medjean's every order, and then convinces her that siding with the devil himself would mean nothing good. A shaken, half-asleep Medjean falls for it, and she unfortunately ends up opening the jar. And as the world around her turns red, as cackles of the demon infiltrate every atom in the air, Medjean is reminded of a Haitian proverb that she never understood before today. Greet the devil, he'll eat you. Don't greet the devil, he'll eat you. Lucifer, issue number 5, Son of Mystery. We begin this tale again with a quote from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow that goes as follows. "It is Lucifer, the son of mystery, and since God suffers him to be, he too is God's minister, and labors for some good, by us not understood." Let's head to the Silver City now, where Metatron now convenes with the peacock-feathered angel Raphael. He tells Raphael that Gabriel has failed to dispatch Lucifer while he was weak, and instead Gabriel has been charmed by the devil. Raphael states the obvious, the devil is awfully charming, but this is when Metatron says, "If Gabriel died, we could have sought vengeance. Now the way forward is unclear." Raphael thanks Metatron for trusting him with such sensitive information, and Metatron tells Raphael that he has a part to play in this. He had a premonition about it not long ago. Back on Earth, Gabriel and Lucifer watch as Azazel's being fills the entire bus, and then to satiate his never-ending hunger, Azazel attacks and devours an old man sitting behind Medjean. Medjean commands him to stop, and Azazel threatens to eat her if she does that again. Gabriel wants to jump in, but Lucifer holds him back because he knows that the only one who can reason with Azazel right now is Medjean. And he's right, because despite Azazel's horrific presence, a defiant Medjean tells Azazel that she opened the bottle, and he promised her that he will do what she says if she let him out. So she commands him not to harm her or any other living thing unless she permits it. And suddenly all of Azazel's eyes lower. He now realizes his predicament, and so he tells Lucifer that he should kill Medjean so he can earn his freedom. After all of this is Lucifer's fault. If he hadn't given the key to Dream, he wouldn't be in this mess, and neither would Lucifer. And this is when Medjean angrily commands Azazel to stop Lucifer from killing her, to stop everything that tries to kill her. And then Lauren steps in. He knew he had some part to play in this. He knew there was a reason the feather kept pulling him in this direction, and now he finally knows why. Lauren removes the feather from his hair and then breaks it. At first nothing happens, and Azazel comments that this was quite anticlimactic. But then the roof of the bus is torn open by Raphael, armed with a flaming sword. Gabriel and Lucifer take off to confront him, and Raphael tries to manipulate Gabriel by telling him that Lucifer is deceiving him. He He has just freed Azazel and has completed 2/3 of the old triumvirate, which is why Raphael is here to end him. Lucifer charges Raphael while mocking Metatron, who now pretends to be the Word of God himself, and this insult causes Raphael to bellow in anger. Lucifer blocks Raphael's first attack, but the next one sends him hurtling into the ground. Raphael then tries to deal the final blow while Lucifer is down and weak, but Gabriel saves him and blocks Raphael using his own flaming sword. He reminds them that this is his investigation, and that they are getting in the way of questioning Azazel. However, this is when Lucifer begins to mutter the following under his breath: "You, bones and blood, long forgotten, you shard of unfulfilled vengeance. Here he is before you, Azazel, whom you were made to destroy. You can still fulfill your destiny." And so, while Gabriel is busy telling Raphael that he can't simply pin the murder of the presence on Lucifer just because the angels are so bloodthirsty, Lucifer points his ribcage at Azazel, and the shard embedded in his body shoots out and destroys Azazel. Gabriel then charges at Lucifer, thinking that the devil manipulated him simply to heal himself, only for Lucifer to remind him that he was simply multitasking. All they could have asked Azazel was the place where he was buried, where the sword was buried, but they don't need to do that anymore because the angel who buried Azazel is standing in front of them. Gabriel's flaming sword was inches away from Lucifer's head, but this is when he stops and turns to Raphael, who reluctantly reveals the location to them. So, when the sun has set and the stars are twinkling, Medjean finds herself soaring through the skies in the arms of Gabriel. She is in awe of the entire scene, but the fact that she had to claim her brother's place to be her home to Gabriel terrifies her. Lauren, meanwhile, stayed behind with Raphael. Apparently, the Archangel had another job for him. Gabriel drops Medjean outside her brother's home, and this is when she asks him if he is the good kind of angel or the bad kind. Gabriel tells her that he used to be an angel, but he is not anymore. As for the good and bad, she saw both kinds today, albeit it will be a bit hard for her to determine which was which. She then asks him, "The devil is your brother, isn't he?" Gabriel nods, and that is when the 13-year-old child tells the immortal angel, "It's okay if you love him. I'd love my brother too, even if he was the devil himself." And then Gabriel leaves and Medjean sneaks into her brother's home. Leander's mothers are busy watching TV in the living room when Medjean has a moment of weakness. A part of her wants to trust adults. It's the same part that wants to trust in angels. But then she decides against it. She climbs in through the dining room window and then heads upstairs to finally be reunited with her brother. He hugs her dearly and says, "You're safe now. You can stay forever." He then cuddles her in this pile of soft toys, and when his mother checks in on her, Leander makes the excuse that he simply woke up to drink some water. Meanwhile, in the desert in Dudal, Lucifer and Gabriel land at the site where Azazel was buried. Lucifer jokes that the archangels are quite active now that Gabriel is close to having a suspect, but this only puzzles Gabriel even more. Lucifer acts as though he holds all the answers, so what is Gabriel supposed to do? Guess? And Lucifer nods. He really wants Gabriel to start guessing, and Gabriel finally concludes that Raphael knew where the sword was. Maybe one of the archangels did it? And suddenly the ground beneath Gabriel's feet gives way and he falls into the chasm that used to be Azazel's burial site. There he finds the sword, and beside it he finds a feather from Metatron's wings. Gabriel instantly takes off despite Lucifer warning him against it, and heads to the Silver City. There he confronts Metatron, accuses him of killing their father, and this enrages Metatron. They both clash swords, but a fallen Gabriel is no match for Metatron's might. Metatron punches Gabriel away and screams, "Do you know why you were chosen? You asked me before. Then I had to be diplomatic, but now I will tell you plainly, you were supposed to kill Lucifer. Twice you were supposed to kill him, but you failed, and instead you caused this. What's happened is all your fault. I chose you because you don't matter. You were never supposed to matter. I hoped that this time if you couldn't kill the morning star, then at least he'd kill you. Now, fall from heaven again." And with that, Metatron chucks Gabriel out of heaven, and he plummets towards the earth and crashes where once Azazel was buried. Gabriel gets up and is face to face with Lucifer once again. Lucifer hands him his hip flask, and Gabriel sighs and says that it was indeed stupid of him to expect Metatron to confess his crimes when confronted. And this is when Lucifer chuckles and reveals to Gabriel that it was never Metatron who killed the presence. It was Gabriel himself. Baffled, Gabriel tells Lucifer that he would remember killing the presence if that was truly the case, And this is when Lucifer reveals that someone manipulated Gabriel into doing the deed, and they took his memories away to make sure he wouldn't remember. And so Lucifer tells Gabriel that when he faced himself in the void, the moment seemed inevitable, as though time was bending back on itself. Then Lucifer saw the sword in Gabriel's hand, and he knew that his brother was there to kill him. Lucifer then reached out to bind the stardust and debris together into a sword of his own. Archangel Michael has the demiurgic power of creation, and just like him, Lucifer's gift is shaping the world to his will. Sadly, he had passed on that power to Mazikeen, and so no sword came to his hand, and in that moment of forgetfulness, he let Gabriel hit him. The blade broke against Lucifer's ribs, and when Gabriel swung again, Lucifer blocked it, and the broken end of the blade nicked Gabriel in the throat, leaving a faint cut. Lucifer then flew back home. That's how this started. Lucifer was first suspicious of Gabriel when he entered the Ex-Lux, because he felt the shard in his body lurch towards him. The scar on Gabriel's neck made him more suspicious, but Lucifer still doubted his conclusions. The pile of evidence continued to grow in hell. Gabriel healed too fast after Beelzebub had tortured him. Gabriel was supposed to be mortal. He was supposed to be human. And when in his dream the ravens pecking at his body suggested that Gabriel didn't remember something that literally ate him, Lucifer realized the truth. And then there's the fact that Gabriel is still alive. After falling from heaven yet again, Gabriel killed the presence. He had motive and opportunity. Gabriel confesses he remembers being sent to kill Lucifer once, but not twice. He couldn't have done this. He wouldn't have. At least, that's what he thinks. But this is when Lucifer tells him to imagine what if he did. What if Gabriel tried to slay Lucifer but failed again, in the void where even the presence's omniscience couldn't reach him? Gabriel would have pondered over his options. For eons, Gabriel has blamed Lucifer for taking his heart. Yet Lucifer isn't the sole proprietor of his suffering. The presence had a big part to play in it too. Their father did turn his back on Gabriel. The presence never saw Gabriel coming, but someone did, and that someone took Gabriel's memories away and gave him his power back. Gabriel lashes out at Lucifer for not telling him about this earlier, but Lucifer simply confesses that he liked being blamed for their father's death. After all, he was supposed to be Lucifer's enemy. And this is when Gabriel snarls, "Oh yes, you got to be the bad son, so the rest of us were stuck with being good forever. But I guess it turns out that I'm much worse than you ever were. That must piss you off. At least I've got that." The two brothers then walk away, Lucifer consoling Gabriel and Gabriel stewing in his own misery. At night, they're in Ex-Lux. Gabriel continues to stew in his misery, and Lucifer inflicts more pain upon himself by breaking the heart of a human that dares to approach him after he kept staring at her all night. When he heads back inside, he finds Gabriel missing, and we then see Gabriel arriving in hell. He orders the demon guarding the entrance to take him to Mazikeen, and when Gabriel has her audience, he gets on one knee and says, "Lady of Hell, I was wrong to spurn your offer. I did not know myself as well as I thought. I barely knew myself at all. If you will have me, I dedicate myself to your service." He then tells her that all he asks in return is that she help him find whoever has been manipulating him. Mazikeen lifts her bleeding right hand and places it on Gabriel's forehead to signify that the bargain has been made, and in an instant, Gabriel is bestowed the power of hell. His borrowed wings now become his, and they turn black. He then flies off and says, "If I can't be blessed, then let me be a curse on heaven." Lucifer, issue number 6, Son of the Morning. We start our story in New England. The air is chilly, the snow on the trees has settled, and the only sense of warmth in the air comes from a young couple that drives recklessly towards their destination. This is Takehiko, a strapping young man, and Rosemary, the formidable love of his life. Rosemary jokes that it's too late for Takehiko to chicken out now, and this is when we learn that Rosemary's parents are Satanists, and so is the entire town where they are headed. Takehiko smiles and lets her joke slide. After all, her parents seem nice from what he knows about them, so how bad could it really be? Takehiko jokes that he might not be evil enough for their cult, and this is when Rosemary laughs and pulls over. They aren't supposed to be home for the next 30 minutes, and so she wants to make good use of that extra time. She climbs on top of Takehiko, and the two begin to kiss. However, this is when Takehiko notices the ghostly image of a woman outside his car. When he turns to look, the entity is gone, which leaves Takehiko frantic and puzzled. He gets out of the car, tries to look around, but in the end, Rosemary gaslights him into believing that it must have been a bear or a mountain lion. As they get inside, a curious Takehiko implores Rosemary to tell him more about the ghost stories of the town, and being a Satanist. Rosemary has no problem talking about them. She tells Takehiko that her parents grew up in this town, so she's heard them all. There's the boy who killed himself over by the school, the baby who was drowned in the lake by its babysitter, and of course the girl who was burned to death in the first Satanist church of the town. And so begins a flashback of Devil's Knob in 1986. The entire town was into drugs, death metal, and parties. There was a guy in the scene named Gordo who quickly concluded that if he started a church, he would never have to pay taxes. So, when he inherited his parents' home, he turned it into a satanic church. In reality, it became a nice place for indie bands to play their music. Rosemary's father met her mother at one of these parties. She was puking on the lawn when he first saw her, and still, to this day, according to her father Alan, her mother Alice was the prettiest thing he had ever seen. But then one night, things got a little too crazy and Gordon's family home burned down with a girl named Joanna Newton in it. The incident was chalked up as an accident. Gordo used the insurance money and some donations to make an actual Satanist church. But that is when the rumors began. Some said he sold the girl's soul for money, and many expected the entire town to be attacked by an army of demons. But none of that ever happened. Instead, everybody got old, stopped doing drugs, had kids, and got boring. And the last glimpse of the Satanist church shows us the potluck organizer requesting the audience to bring something vegetarian or gluten-free. And then they finally reach their destination, Rosemary's home. The meeting is awfully normal. Takehiko meets Alan, Alice, and their pup Spot, and the only thing that stands out is the sign outside their home that reads, "Trespassers will be sacrificed." Rosemary leads Takehiko to her room, the place where he will be sleeping, and once they are gone, we see Alan and Alice talking about Takehiko. To them, the kid seems great, but on the other hand, he seems too timid and reserved for Rosie. They know their daughter. She is going to eat him alive. Takehiko is naturally surprised that Rosemary's parents would allow him to sleep in her room. And this is when she jokes and reminds him that they're Satanists, personal gratification and all that. They begin to make out, but moments later, Alan barges in and tells them that they're having a small event at the church tonight. The high priest wants to meet Takehiko. Rosemary is quick to usher her father out because she knows that this would creep Takehiko out, and it surely does. He decides to take a break in the bathroom, and as he stares in the mirror, we learn that when he was 10, his mother sent him to live with his uncle. His father was long gone, and there was the family business to worry about. He knows what it's like to have a not-so-normal childhood, and so he relates with Rosemary. But as he walks out, the bathroom mirror breaks on its own accord. He then gets in Rosemary's car as they ride for the church, and this is when we learn that Takehiko has avoided taking over the family business. And he wonders if it's time to step up. He wonders if it would impress Rosemary. As they ride, Takehiko asks Rosemary if she believes in Satan and all that, and she tells him that she doesn't believe in the big bad red guy with a goatee and hooves for feet, but she believes in the benefits of putting oneself first. She believes in being okay with eating too much, lusting after hot people, and having lazy days and getting angry. They then reach the church, but as they walk inside, Takehiko notices the ethereal entity at the edge of the woodline whom he saw earlier once again. Inside, Takehiko notices that the entire church is empty, and then suddenly cloaked cultists begin surrounding him and grabbing at him. Rosemary tells her folks to cut it out because this is embarrassing, but then Takehiko is greeted by the naked high priest and his mistress Gordo. Gordo jokes that Takehiko was led here by Rosemary for a sacrifice, and then his mistress stabs Takehiko in the chest. The ruse is finally revealed when the knife is pulled away, because it's a trick blade that folds in on itself. But then the air seems to buzz with energy, and an enraged Takehiko with red eyes confronts the cultists. How dare they do this? And at first, Gordo thinks that Takehiko is taking the joke too seriously, but then Takehiko spreads his arms, and all of the glass around him shatters. He then proclaims, "You suppose that just because you dress in black and blaspheme, you're the monster that lurks in the shadows? But I have seen the face of your sins. Dead woman, I call you Joanna Newton. I call you." And then Joanna Newton, or what remains of her, walks in through one of the broken windows. A frantic Rosemary asks the cultists for answers. After all, they all thought that Joanna was dead. And this is when Gordo begins to panic. He tries dispersing everyone, but Takehiko overpowers his orders by making Joanna speak, and the first words out of her mouth are, "You left me for dead, Alan." Alan tries to defend himself, tries to tell Joanna that they were all high and out of their minds, but it's not over yet, and that is exactly what Takehiko tells Rosemary when she tries to stop him. Alice, Alan's wife and Rosemary's mother, confronts her husband about Joanna, and he frantically tells her that he isn't the one to blame. Gordo was the one who gave her the drugs. Gordo was the one who summoned the demon. Gordo's wife, meanwhile, asks Joanna how she is still alive, undead and unburnt, and Joanna recites her past to her. Joanna was with a guy back then, nothing special. He was rich and would pay her generously for sexual favors. But that night, Joanna and him fought, and she ended up in the rave at church that night. She found Gordo and Alan high as a kite in the attic. Gordo had scored some new stuff, and Joanna decided to help herself to it. What she didn't know was that the stuff was exceptionally pure, and so she ended up overdosing. Gordo painted a pentagram on the floor, put Joanna in it, and tried to cast a satanic ritual, but it failed, for if it had succeeded, Joanna would have been back from the dead. The circle was on fire when Gordo forced Alan to abandon Joanna in the house. What they didn't know was the fact that Joanna awoke once they were gone. She says, "I fled. When Gordo spotted me after, he ran from me. He was afraid of what he'd done and the bargain he'd made." Takehiko confronts Gordo about the deal, and the man confesses that he made a deal with Asmodeus that night, and Gordo offered him Joanna's life in exchange. This is when Takehiko decides to summon Asmodeus, and he says, "Uncle, I summon you." Asmodeus arrives after a blinding flash of light, and when he is face to face with the cultists, he jokes that they may have finally managed to find their devil. He then points to Takehiko and says, "He is, after all, the firstborn son of Lucifer Morningstar, and Izanami no Mikoto. He is a prince of the dead twice over, soon to be king of hell." Asmodeus then talks to Takehiko and tells him to come along and to bring Rosemary with him. The time for dawdling is over. Lucifer has returned, which means they must make their move now. Takehiko is baffled by this. He had only summoned Asmodeus to scare the cultists, but Asmodeus scoffs and tells him that it's time. He met his family and took over the family business. As they're leaving, he grabs Gordo because he will be Takehiko's servant to fulfill the deal he made. When they're gone, the cultists try and come to terms with the fact that they just saw a demon, while Alan and Alice rejoice over the fact that Rosemary is going to be the bride of the devil. However, soon a fight breaks out as Alice accuses Alan of cheating on her with Joanna all those years ago, and then she attacks the dead woman herself. Joanna overpowers Alice and then attempts to bite her throat. The cultists step in and split them apart, and the high priestess then tells them that they need to celebrate Joanna's return, because this is a miracle. Meanwhile, in hell, Asmodeus tells Takehiko that they need to issue a challenge to Mazikeen. It's time for him to claim his inheritance. When Asmodeus leaves, Takehiko and Rosemary reunite and make up with each other. Rosemary forgives him for not telling her that he was the actual Prince of Hell. Lucifer, issue number 7, Father Lucifer. The paradox of evil that has stood witness to time is this: why does a benevolent creator allow it? After years of debate, theologians decided that evil must serve some greater good, but they were narrow-minded. They do not want to even dwell on the possibility that the creator is not so benevolent after all, or that there isn't one. And so we begin this issue with this quote from Mark Twain: "But who prays for Satan, who in 18 centuries has had the common humanity to pray for the one sinner that needed it the most?" And so we see Lucifer walking through the streets of Los Angeles, heading back to X-Lux. On the way there, he comes across a homeless man, and he drops a dozen silver dollars for him. But then, as he walks away, 2 young homeless men attack the man and beat him to a pulp and steal his silver dollars. Remember the paradox of evil? Yeah, so about that. Eventually we settled on the reassuring explanation. We have evil because we have free will. After all, if we don't have bad choices, how can we know the good ones? Without suffering, how will our true natures be revealed? But if that's so, then is the opposite also true? Is there any use for the devil if there's no God? And so we go to heaven, where Gabriel now bends the loyal knee to Mazikeen. Rosemary stares out of Takehiko's bedroom out into the endless landscapes of hell. Demons and the Lilim continue to wage war, and Takehiko spends a sleepless night under his covers while wondering and fearing what the future is to bring. Even in the Silver City, the Archangel Metatron is troubled. He glides towards the tower above the Premium Mobile, where the throne of heaven sits empty. Metatron is troubled, and then Raphael walks in to consult with him. He tells Metatron how he was summoned by Lauren, and Metatron dejectedly nods and reminds Raphael that he did see that he had a part to play in the things to come. Raphael, however, is beginning to catch on. He grabs the spear beside Metatron and assesses it. He then says, "It is not our nature to deceive, yet it seems you are hiding something." Raphael then brings up the shard stuck in Lucifer's side. Lucifer was seeking information about a long-lost sword. Why would that be? And why do the angels of heaven spread rumors of Gabriel's return to heaven on white wings? A return that was cut short by Metatron, who threw him back to Earth. And why does Metatron hide in this tower brooding? And and this sends Metatron over the edge. He screams that if Raphael so desperately wants to know, then he will tell him. Metatron then recounts the story of the Presence's departure. He felt lost after the Presence left. He could not fly, he could not sing. Even as Lucifer made his move to steal the throne of heaven for Michael's daughter, Metatron couldn't be bothered to stir to action. And then the Presence finally spoke to him. Their father ordered Metatron to have Gabriel bring him the sword of Azazel. He was told that the sword will be used against Lucifer. Metatron wanted to do the job himself. He begged the Presence, but in the end, Gabriel was chosen for the job, their dishonored brother. In the end, Gabriel returned without a sword, Lucifer was still alive, and the Presence was gone. Their father was dead. He then points to the crack in the throne and tells Raphael to see the truth for himself. Metatron then says, "Lucifer killed our father for revenge after Gabriel's failure. I would not have failed." However, Raphael instantly reels back when he peers into the crack. How could this be? How could Metatron have the audacity to claim that thing, whatever it is their father? How could he claim that their father's body transformed into that? "It cannot be true," screams Raphael, and a dumbfounded Metatron says, You saw a living thing?" And then we get a glimpse at the huge pulsating egg-like structure that seems to have replaced the Presence's remains in the void. Back in the X-Lux, Lucifer enjoys a relaxing drink with Proofless by his side, but then suddenly something prompts Lucifer to take a walk. Once Lucifer defined himself in opposition to his heavenly father, now there is no one to oppose, no one to escape, no one to hate. That absence eats at him. He prods and pokes at that absence like a child playing with a recently formed socket because of a lost tooth. Lucifer is now following a man carrying a jerry can with his head hung low. The man then walks into a park, pours the gas over his head, and screams, "God is dead! There is no more sin! No more salvation!" He then lights himself on fire, and in that moment, one would wonder that even the devil can mourn. Meanwhile, in Newark, New Jersey, Raphael flies to Lauren Hammond, who awaits his arrival in an empty park. Raphael had tasked Lauren to ask around the other crack houses about Gabriel. Raphael confesses that he burned the crack house earlier at the order of Metatron, which is why it's important for him to know what Lauren has found so that he can weigh his sins. And so Lauren reveals all he has found. Once, Gabriel got drunk with some homeless under a bridge and started discussing esoteric torments. It creeped the hell out of others, and the others assumed that he may have been a preacher or something. And then Gabriel vanished. When he returned, he had turned into a drunk. He would constantly drink vodka, mouthwash, paint thinner. It didn't matter to him. Lauren then tells Raphael about Harrison Baum, a homeless guy who saw something the day Gabriel returned. Harrison refuses to talk about it to anyone. He's terrified of that day. Raphael then pulls out some candy, hands it to Lauren, and then tells him to go and talk to Harrison again. Back in Hell, Mazikeen now receives an emissary from the Prince of Hell. The Lilim want to kill the messenger, but Mazikeen allows him to speak. And so the small demon reads out the scroll. "Lord Takehiko, son of the Morning Star, the rightful heir of Hell twice over, comes to take back his ancestral throne. Abdicate now, Lilim, or face him in battle in 3 days hence." When the message finishes, she orders her Lilim to kill the demon instantly, but then the messenger pleads with her and tells her that he has another message for her, one from Asmodeus. Asmodeus can convince Takehiko to be reasonable. He wants Mazikeen to consider marriage to his nephew. This way she could rule together with him, uniting the Lilim and the demons. And this irks Mazikeen even further, and she orders her Lilim to now kill the messenger slowly. Gabriel then brings up the very important elephant in the room. How will Mazikeen fight? Surely she can't fight in the current state, but Mazikeen seems to have some tricks up her sleeve. She angrily orders her men to fetch her armor. Back in the X-Lux, when Lucifer returns, he finds a message for him stabbed into his table. It's an invite for the fight that is about to happen in Hell, an invite for the duel for rulership over Hell. Lucifer crushes the invite and then burns it out of anger. Lauren, meanwhile, visits Harrison in the shelter, and upon seeing his favorite childhood candy, Baum decides that the best way to get rid of Lauren is by telling him the truth. And so he reveals that the day Gabriel returned, he was sleeping soundly, nothing out of the ordinary, passed out cold. Then suddenly he woke up. He doesn't know where he is or how he got there. And then the entire room begins to shake, and Gabriel begins to repeat, "The presence is gone, but the presence will live again," over and over until he passes out. Back in Hell, Mazikeen is visited by Izanami no Mikoto, the rotting blossom of Yomi. Mazikeen grants her an audience, but the atmosphere is tense. Mazikeen asks Izanami what's to stop her from imprisoning the ruler of Yomi, and this is when Izanami reminds her that that that's exactly how she became the Queen of Yomi. Her husband made the mistake of imprisoning her there, and she eventually became its queen. Mazikeen dismisses the Lilims so they can talk in private, and Izanami gets straight to business. She tells Mazikeen that she can get her son Takehiko to forfeit, because what she cares about the most is revenge on the Morningstar. All Mazikeen needs to do is to refrain from calling out to Lucifer. She is not to look at him in the crowd during the fight. She is not to call out his name. If Mazikeen does that, Izanami will make her son forfeit the duel, but Mazikeen refuses the offer defiantly. She needs no help in her battles. An irked Izanami then states the bitter truth. Mazikeen is besotted with Lucifer like a schoolgirl, or better yet, like a loyal dog. She then tries to manipulate Mazikeen by saying, "But I think you're neither of those. I think you are a queen, and I think you will not risk your kingdom." And Mazikeen agrees. She indeed is the Queen of Hell, and as Izanami walks out, she coyly tells Mazikeen that only time will prove that. Asmodeus and Takehiko spar under the supervision of Beelzebub, and Asmodeus bolsters his nephew's confidence by telling him that Mazikeen may have Lucifer's Lightbringer powers. But Takehiko is a piece of Lucifer himself. Hell runs through his veins. They then return to their quarters. Beelzebub and Asmodeus don't trust in Takehiko to win, but they are looking forward to an entertaining duel. As for Izanami, she visits her son and bestows him with luck. She is a goddess after all. Meanwhile, in the Silver City, the peril of the mortals on Earth has reached the ears of the angels. Rumors of the Presence's death have begun to spread, and they are currently knocking on Metatron's door, demanding answers. When he doesn't reply to their shouts and doesn't open the door, one of them dares to enter only to find Metatron dead, stabbed through the chest. On Earth, Lucifer raises a toast to his dead father when he spots Raphael entering the X-Lux. Lucifer groans and says, "Let me guess, you've come to challenge me to a duel, or maybe you've come to accuse me of a murder." But Raphael sighs. He doesn't accuse Lucifer. Instead, he grabs a drink and says, "No, I've come to confess a murder instead." Lucifer, issue number 8, The Not So Fortunate Fall. This issue begins with a quote from Leonardo da Vinci that goes as follows: "To lie is so vile that even if it were speaking well of godly things, it would take off something from God's grace." In the X-Lux, Raphael blames Lucifer for all that has happened. He calls Lucifer the architect of the fall of heaven, the architect of his misery. Lucifer snarkily retorts that he should shift the blame higher and points to the heavens, and this causes a drunk Raphael to begin spiraling. He talks about the creation, how good they had it in the early days, and this prompts Lucifer to tell Raphael that he is being maudlin. Raphael instantly realizes that he is drunk, but that shouldn't be possible, yet it somehow is, in the Devil's Bar. Raphael then crashes out. How could Lucifer be okay with this? Just a simple bar in Los Angeles? How? This is how he chose to spend all of his gifts? This is what he returned for? Nothing? To be the Prince of Nothing? The Lord of Nothing? Lucifer gave up his kingdom, gave away pieces of himself, and nearly destroyed the entire world for what? A glorified suicide? Raphael sighs and asks Lucifer what he found out there in the void. What was so important? And Lucifer simply says that words haven't been invented yet to describe what he found. Raphael cries and blames Lucifer for leaving them, and Lucifer angrily reminds him that their father left first, and that he can be the one who leaves next. And this is when Raphael confesses to Metatron's murder, and a stumped Lucifer has no choice but to ask him to stay. We then catch up with Medjean on Earth. She has been hiding in her brother's room for 2 weeks. She eats peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, tomato soup, and leftover Halloween candy. Every morning she gets up early and hides in the closet. When Leander goes to school and his mothers go to work, Medjean is free to watch the TV all day long. But today, when she turns on the TV, she catches the local news reporting on the duel that is about to happen in hell. Medjean thinks she is going crazy because she has been indoors too long, and so she decides to risk it and go out for a walk. But the weirdness doesn't stop. Soon she comes across an imp sitting in a tree who offers her a glimpse at the future in exchange for some blood. This is when she is approached by another teenage girl who too can see the imp in the tree. She introduces herself as Noema Presto, and the two of them instantly become friends. Meanwhile, Gabriel soars above hell and finally sees the beauty in the land. It would be a decent tourist destination, except for all the suffering. Gabriel lands on the ground, and this is when an imp yanks on his wings and tells him that he has been summoned summoned to the castle. In the castle, Mazakine's Lilim are trying to convince her that she should choose Lucifer as her champion. Takehiko is his son, and he should deal with the problem himself. Mazakine outright denies the idea, and this is when they remind him that if this is indeed Lucifer's foretold child, then he is the beast, and he is fated to rule the world. Mazakine remarks that she doesn't think that this child of Lucifer is fated to rule the world, and then dismisses the Lilim. Once they are gone, Gabriel offers to be her champion, but Mazakine tells him to stand up and confirms his loyalty to her. She says, "You are sworn to me, yes?" "Yes, my lady. I need you to cut off my hands." Gabriel refuses to do so, and Mazakine reminds him that he is sworn to her, and he has to do as she says. Back on Earth, Noema and Medjin are busy painting their nails and busy discussing the things the two of them are able to see. Noema reassures Medjin that her mother wouldn't mind her coming over in her absence, and then tells her that according to her mom, they are seeing demons because the angels aren't doing their job. Medjin remarks that she has been feeling like something is about to happen, and this is when Noema mysteriously remarks that maybe it already has. Back in the X-Lux, Lucifer asks Raphael to be a bit more discreet, but Raphael continues lamenting loudly that he murdered Metatron. Lucifer leads Raphael to the roof and he says, "Metatron showed me this thing out there in the nothingness. He said it was our father. He had been hiding it, hiding things about Gabriel, lying. I don't know what came over me. I didn't think sin would be like this. I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel anything at all. Forgive me, Lucifer. You have to forgive me. There's no one else left to do it." In hell, Gabriel is now armed with his flaming sword, and he pleads with Mazakine to tell him why she wants her hands cut. At first she denies it, but when he pleads again, she gives in. Mazakine says, "When Lucifer left me his morning star powers, my brother and sisters were afraid. They feared that I would rule over them as an angel, so I agreed to be bound with the nails of the goddess Nurtia. They pinned some of my power in place along with my body. As I rule over my siblings, so they rule over me. The ability to release me was given to my brother, Misran, alone, but the longer I was bound, the more he liked it." Gabriel tries to reason with her. There must be some other way, but Mazakine screams at him to just do the job, and the next second, Gabriel cuts both of her hands off. Back on the X-Lux's roof, as the pitter-patter of rain gently treads the line between annoying and charming, Lucifer reveals something to Raphael that he has kept secret from the entire universe. He is going to tell him a secret he hasn't told anyone else, not Mazakine, not Gabriel, not Elaine, and not even their dear departed Michael. Lucifer tells Raphael that he is the reason their father abandoned and fled this world. Raphael refuses to believe that the presence was fleeting, but Lucifer assures him that that's the case, and he is going to explain why in a moment. This is when Raphael realizes why Lucifer is the Prince of Lies. It's because he never lies. He lets people deceive themselves. He tricks them with words, but Lucifer never lies. Lucifer says, "Before I boarded the Naglfar, our father spoke to me. He reminded me that he had foreseen my rebellion and had nudged it along. My plan was part of his plan, but my abandonment of my duties in hell, that was just unacceptable." Lucifer then explains that this wasn't the first time their father spoke to him. He had come to him before. He had asked Lucifer to keep the fact that his downfall was part of the Presence's plan a secret. Lucifer knew that this was a lie, but the Presence termed it as unnecessary deception. Lucifer's true rebellion against the Presence was not waging war on heaven. It was the handing over of the keys to hell to Morpheus. The Presence had confronted Lucifer once again, and this time it had commanded, "Enough of your childishness. Repent, return to hell, or be destroyed." Lucifer toyed with the idea of telling his brothers the truth, telling them about the great deception, and the Presence had snarkily replied, "No one believes the devil." Lucifer then stares towards the rain and says, "But he didn't call my bluff, did he? He abandoned the world. And then I suppose I abandoned it too, like father, like son." Meanwhile, in hell, Mazakine's hands free themselves from the nails and then reattach to her arms. She then puts on her armor, and by the time she is done, Gabriel can hear someone headed for their throne room. Mazakine is now face to face with her brother Misran, who orders her to get back on the throne. Mazakine refuses and threatens to make her warm-up kill before the duel, and when Misran doesn't back down, the fight begins. Gabriel fends off the Lilim on Misran's side, and a second later, Mazakine beheads her brother. The others quickly back down, and hell once again realizes why Mazakine is the queen. Back on Earth, Raphael flies to Lauren's home and calls him out. When Lauren comes out, Raphael says, "Nothing makes sense anymore. I was wrong about so much. Everything that mattered, nothing matters. What matters is this." And then Raphael kisses Lauren. Back in the Ex-Lux, Lucifer is making his own preparations. He too is dressed in a black armor, an armor that Ruthless approves of. Lucifer walks out and says, to market, to buy a fat pig." Lucifer, issue number 9, The Prodigal Sons. Today is quite the day in hell. The streets are filled with tortured souls, angels, demons, the Lilim. Everyone is out for the show and everyone is in a joyous mood. There are small shops everywhere, shops that are selling trinkets and food like gangrenous liver, infected spleen, and the star attraction, mangled brains. A shop is making bets and the odds are in Mazakine's favor. Another more niche establishment is selling food exclusively from the clergy. A bishop's spleen is $1, and as for crispy Christians, well, they'll cost you $1.50 for a piece. Lucifer walks through the crowd, and this issue begins with the following quote from Oscar Wilde: "We are each our own devil, and we make this world our hell." Then the fallen angel Milos calls out to Lucifer. They discuss how and why he is here, and then when Mazikine and her entourage walk through the streets, Milos remarks, "Isn't she magnificent? Mazikine Morningstar, Queen of Hell." Lucifer agrees, but then realizes that Milos can see, and that's a problem, because when Lucifer blinds someone, he expects them to stay that way. Milos confesses that he made his new eyes himself, and if he wants, he can make Lucifer a pair too. Milos then reveals the true reason why he is here. He has been sent by Izanami no Mikoto. He has a message for Lucifer. Izanami formally apologizes for missing him on his last trip to hell, but that he is always welcome in hell. Lucifer chides Milos for being Izanami's errand boy, and this is when Milos says, "I am a fallen angel, Lucifer. She is allied with us. Whose side are you on these days?" Back in the Silver City, the cat is out of the bag. There is a crack in the throne of heaven, and through it the angels of the city gaze at the remains of the presence in adoration and horror. A four-faced cherub goes mad because of the sight, and one of the powers cannot stop weeping. Her tears fall from the Silver City, and whatever they strike mourns along with her. Even the stones weep. 7 angels decide to fly out into the beyond to observe the thing more closely. The holy object seems to live, to swell along with the heartbeat of the universe. Nowhere in their theology is there anything to prepare themselves for this. And then the presence's remains explode in a bright flash of light. In hell, meanwhile, Takehiko is apologizing to Rosemary for bringing her here, because if he dies or fails, she will be stuck in hell. He then confesses that there's something else he hasn't told her yet, and she reminds him of the reason she fell for him. He could quote Shakespeare, yet tried to cheat from her during the exam. That's what made her want to meet him, to get to know him more, and today he is going to do the same thing. Just like the exam, today his job is to cheat death. And if that means backing out of the fight, then so be it. The devil could walk away from hell, so can he. It's not too late. But this is when Izanami interrupts Rosemary and says, "It was too late the moment he was born." She then reminds Takehiko and tells Rosemary how all this started, and why Takehiko was born. Long ago, Lucifer came to her realms wanting wings that had been abandoned. Wings that were given to Izanami and her family by the angel Remiel. And so, Lucifer lured her sons to death. He tricked Katsuchi into drawing the 3-named sword, the shallowest wound from which meant instant death. When Katsuchi tried to stab Lucifer, he ended up stabbing his brother Tsukiyomi, who died instantly. Katsuchi had been poisoned by Lucifer, so his aim was not true and he died next. Takehiko fights for them, fights to avenge their deaths. It's why Izanami slept with Lucifer. Rosemary asks how she managed to accomplish that, and Izanami says, "Be they gods or devils, all men are but fools." She then tells her son how she has needled Mazakine's pride, and how he is supposed to look at the crowd when she does, to find Lucifer. She then leads Rosemary away, leaving Takehiko to prepare for the upcoming battle. As they reach the viewing balcony, they find themselves face to face with Lucifer, who is already lounging. Izanami and Rosemary take a seat, and the goddess tries to get under Lucifer's skin by telling him that he should have been Mazakine's champion. He should be facing his own son, but an ominous tone and a hint of prophecy isn't going to faze him. And then the announcer arrives in the arena and screams, "Demons! Lilim! Angels! Fools! Tortured souls! Today we decide the fate of hell." Gabriel is busy helping Mazikine get ready for the battle, and while the two of them are distracted, 2 imps sneak into the tent and dull Mazakine's blade at the orders of Asmodeus and Beelzebub. Mazikine has no idea that she is walking into the battle with a dull blade when her name is announced. When Takehiko's name is announced, Mazikine turns away, removes her mask, and when she turns around, she is clashing her sword against the Prince of Hell twice over. We now see the other half of Mazakine's face, demonic face, the part of the face that she has been hiding from everyone. Mazakine lands a killing blow on Takehiko, but it doesn't even pierce his armor, and this tips her off that there's something wrong with her sword. Be that as it may, if Mazakine can't kill him fast, then killing him slow will have to do. She backs away and then lands a second blow at him, only to fail once again. This is when Takehiko begins to gloat and reveals that when he was a child, he was brought by his uncle and mother to hell, and he was submerged in each of the sacred rivers: Styx, Lethe, Acheron, Phlegethon, and Cocytus. Literally, hell runs through his veins. But then Mazakine changes the tide of war and looks towards Lucifer, but she warns Takehiko not to let her win by forfeit, and this is when Takehiko begins to transform into a gigantic, hideous monster as he screams for his father. Everyone was expecting a trick, but the thing about tricks is that even though you may be suspecting one, it will still manage to surprise you. Rosemary watches in horror as this giant monstrosity heads straight for the balcony and slams into Lucifer. The balcony breaks and Rosemary falls to her death. Asmodeus warns Izanami that if he breaks off his fight with Mazakine, he will lose, but Izanami doesn't care. She is focused on getting her revenge. Takehiko, or whatever he is right now, launches Lucifer high into the air and then slams him on the ground. Meanwhile, in the void, the angels watch as light continues to emit from the remains of the presence, and then they all enter a trance. Their eyes begin to glow red and they all await his arrival. They repeat the words holy and glory over and over again, and then the presence reborn finally appears before them and says, "I am a new god, a god of fire and brimstone. I scorn free will, and I mean to remake a world in my image." Lucifer, issue number 10, World Unchained. This issue begins with the quote, "Many deeds are enacted in God's name which fill the devil's heart with envy," from Abraham Miller. Everything old is new again. Isn't that the promise of rebirth? After a flood, the soil is ready for new seeds. After a fall, we're all ready for a little reinvention. Even gods need change sometimes. But when gods change, they cannot shift as humans do, a little at a time. They must be altered all at once. This is when we see Gabriel stabbing the presence and the resulting energy engulfing the remains. Gods burn out like a star and are reignited. Long has it been known that the presence was a jealous and avenging god, full of wrath. Now imagine if that god came back and came back wrong. Medjin and Noema watch from Noema's bedroom window as an unnatural storm rages across all of Earth. They both explain that something's wrong, and then suddenly the sky is filled with flying angels. Raphael and Lauren are done making love, and as soon as they finish, Lauren jokes that his dad would really kill him if he knew about this blasphemy. But a serious Raphael replies, "That's quite a euphemism." Lauren begins to apologize and then flusters and asks Raphael if he regrets sleeping with him. Raphael denies it boldly and then holds Lauren's cheek and is about to say something lovely, but he suddenly drops dead. His eyes begin to glow blue, and as if under the control of someone else, Raphael simply flies away, ignoring Lauren's pleas and shouts. The fight between Lucifer and Takehiko, meanwhile, rages on in hell. Lucifer warns Takehiko that he is a simple mole of his energy. If he wanted, he could reach in and take that speck right back, but Takehiko fails to realize the stakes. He simply screams, "I am not just some piece of you. I am nothing like you." And he's right. Lucifer too believes that Takehiko is nothing like him, so he warns the boy and swats him away. Mazakine then joins the fight and traps Takehiko in the rocks jutting out of the ground through her sheer will. Lucifer admires Mazakine's new look and compliments her, and for a moment it seems that neither of them notices Takehiko freeing himself from his prison. But then when he attacks, Lucifer turns around, stabs him through the gut, and impales him on the rock behind him. But this is when Mazakine warns him to keep his guard up, because now he has to answer to her. She served him faithfully once, but she is no longer his servant, and then Mazakine attacks Lucifer. Lucifer lets go of his sword, dodges the blow, and then screams and reminds Mazakine that he is not her enemy. But Mazakine is furious, and so she punches Lucifer and screams, "Then what are you? You left me with a power I barely understood. You left me in the world you remade. You left me." He then grabs her hand and reassures her that he is here now. However, this is when three angels show up in the sky above them. With glowing blue eyes, the angels speak in unison, "He is here. Glory, glory, glory." And then the entire hell watches in horror as the three angels are blown to smithereens when they say the word holy. Lucifer screams for his dead brethren, and this is when when Gabriel and the ghost of Rosemary show up on the scene. Slowly, the demons around them too begin to get possessed by the new god, and their eyes begin to glow red. Knowing that their end is near, Asmodeus and Beelzebub take Izanami hostage and order her to take them to her realm. Instead of panicking, Izanami agrees. She summons her realm and says, "I will be honored to have you as guests in the house of the windowless rooms." Izanami isn't afraid because these demons are going to be in her realm. She is the ultimate power here, and the two of them are forced to abandon their weapons for as long as they stay here. They are refugees now, and they are at her mercy. Back in hell, Mazikeen too gets possessed by the new god. Her single eye begins to glow red, and then a love-struck Lucifer has no choice but to kiss her to stop her from leaving him. Mazikeen snaps out of it, and that is when the new god makes his appearance and claims, "My first children, you are also the first to see the glory of my return. Flounder no longer in confusion and dismay. No longer will you have to separate right from wrong. There will be only one path from now on, the path of righteousness." And Lucifer instantly knows what this means as he says, "Free will. That bastard is taking away our free will." And then, as Gabriel approaches Lucifer, he too begins to be possessed. But because he's a fallen angel who's sworn to hell, his one eye glows blue while the other glows red. He screams, "I was beyond your mercy before. Now I am beyond your reach. I won't let you use me again." And surprisingly, the new god is unable to take hold of him. Rosemary asks him if he's okay, and a baffled Gabriel frantically tells her that he's fine now. The reunion, however, is quite marred. Lucifer is in no mood for jokes, while Gabriel is too forgiving altogether. He tells Gabriel that they both were tricked by the presence. There was always an architect to this little play, someone to give Gabriel a sword and a little shove. Mazikeen interrupts the hearty reunion and reminds them that the fate of every demon and angel is being decided right now around them. They need to act immediately. She then turns to Lucifer and asks for help. She has the Morningstar powers, and she wants him to tell her what to do with them. But with all that has happened, Lucifer knows that the time for the final confrontation is far away, and right now they need to go on a journey. Mazikeen is worried about the Lilim and the demons, and unfortunately Lucifer has to tell her that they need to sacrifice those he chooses for now. Gabriel tags along because he serves his queen, and Lucifer sighs and reluctantly tells him that they are going to meet his niece, Elaine. Mazikeen then sprouts a new set of wings for herself, wings that are bat-like, and this prompts Gabriel to compliment her because he finds the wings pretty. The romantic tension between this trio is palpable to say the least, but each of them is currently playing their separate role, which is why Gabriel turns to Lucifer and reminds him that his son is still impaled on the rock. But Lucifer is a tough father, and they both have seen what happened to their dad right now. If Takehiko is to survive in this family, he needs to learn that getting impaled on the rock is the least of his worries. Lucifer then flies off, and Gabriel is forced to agree with him because he's right. He tells Rosemary to take care of the boy and flies off himself along with Mazikeen. Once they're gone, Rosemary pulls the sword out of Takehiko's guts, and they begin leading him to the throne room. She won't let her death be in vain. Takehiko did all this to sit on the throne of hell, and now that it lies empty, he is going to do exactly that. The Prince of Hell twice over moans and groans, but eventually makes his way to the throne and takes it for himself. Meanwhile, in the throne room of heaven, what remains of Raphael faces the new god as he grabs Michael's body and says, "Everything will be as it was. Everything will be as it should be. I will drown the world and remake it with fire. And when every trace of what was burns away, we will start again as we did before, with Michael Demiragos, spark of life." Lucifer leads Gabriel and Mazikeen to his own creation beside heaven, and they watch in real time as the Silver City is being influenced by the new god's influence. Gabriel is surprised beyond measure upon laying his eyes on Lucifer's creation, where his niece, Elaine, and Mona Doyle are busy having a picnic. And this is when it's also revealed that our narrator all this while has been none other than Elaine Belloc herself, daughter of Michael Demiragos, and the successor to the throne of heaven after the Presence's abdication. She greets the three of them and says, "We've been waiting for you. This whole omniscience thing is weird, right?" Lucifer, issue number 11, Omniscient Narration. Mona Doyle, the guardian of hedgehogs and Elaine's dear friend, entertains Lucifer's friends while he talks to his niece. She serves them tea, and Mazikeen takes this moment to lie on the grass and admire the beautiful sky of this creation. Mona asks Gabriel about Lucifer's son, if he's hot or not, and Gabriel fumbles to answer properly. And as Elaine and Lucifer walk away for some privacy, we get this issue's quote by Shakespeare that goes as follows: "Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Elaine then tells us about herself, how it's been tough being a god. As her narration continues, we see glimpses of Earth and her past. Mr. Parker has now completely lost it. He addresses his family while holding a rifle and says, "We knew this day was coming. Demons and devils walk among us. They've possessed Medjin. We must prove ourselves worthy of salvation." Elaine continues her narration and tells us that she tried to talk to gods from other pantheons, but they were kind of unfriendly or just plain weird. We then see Elaine trying to be friendly to the Greek gods and trying to connect with Horus, the Egyptian god. And so, since Lucifer left her, Elaine has been trying to be a new kind of god. No commandments, no sacrifices, no fires, no floods, just a lot of hand-wringing. She then tells us that she is also omniscient, which means she knows everything, and omnipresent, which is super distracting, and omnipotent, which should terrify us. Meanwhile, at an abandoned building in New Jersey, Lauren is hiding with his friend Lula, who is trying to get Lauren to calm down. Lauren, however, is watching the humans beat up a demon outside, and he can't help but wish that it would stop raining. Lula tells him that they should drink and smoke their worries away. It is the end of the world after all, but Lauren doesn't feel right. Every one of her jokes fails to cheer him up, and he decides that it's best for him to go out for a walk instead. One would think that the world would change a lot when angels and devils started flying through the skies, murdering anyone they chose, and they would be kind of right. The world did change. For the better or worse? Well, that's up to you to decide. Lauren walks by the humans who were beating the demon earlier. They now have him in chains, and Lauren watches them decapitate him with a sword. When hell broke loose, Nasdaq took a dive, organized religion got way more popular, the military was deployed everywhere, and many of the soldiers quickly deserted. Lauren goes into a store and buys $5 worth of minutes for his phone and a pack of Twizzlers. And so we learn that the world has learned to live with his latest apocalypse. After all, people need paychecks. They need money for groceries, weapons, rent, kids still need to go to the daycare, and the hardware store still needs to supply the new age cults. Malls need to stay open because if the world is ending and the water keeps rising, why not get that expensive dress? After all, it's the end of the world. We then see Lauren calling his father. He's first held up by his secretary, but he eventually manages to get a hold of him. When that happens, Lauren says, "I know I'm a sinner and all that, but I wanted to say goodbye to you and Mom, since I won't be seeing you in heaven." Meanwhile, Elaine asks Lucifer if he missed anyone while he was gone, and Lucifer casually replies that he missed making trouble. And this makes Elaine lose it. She pouts at her uncle and then furiously says, "You know what would be a radical and a transgressive act? Someone in this family admitting they have feelings. When you left hell, you wanted to lie around on beaches and appreciate sunsets. That was defiance." She then holds his hands and tells him that she missed him. They all missed him, even though many of them would hate to admit it. The whole world missed him, some even more than the others, and she sneakily nods in Mazakin's direction. And thus Elaine warns him that if he plans on leaving again, he should go now before he gets everyone's hopes up again. Lucifer chuckles at the thought of his niece chucking him out of her own creation and then redirects her attention to the Silver City where the new god is busy remodeling the landscape. He asks Elaine what she's going to do about him, and she tells Lucifer that she is not going to intervene. She made a promise to stay out of things, even things she doesn't like, even things she hates. Lucifer realizes that Elaine is ready to let the world drown just to prove her hope, and he finds her resolve admirable. And so if Elaine isn't going to intervene, then Lucifer demands her to give back the part of Noema Presto that she took, the part that was meant to be a Basanos, and to hide it from the presence. Elaine asks what he plans on doing, and he plainly tells her that if she won't intervene, he will. Elaine crashes out, giving back Noema that part of her is cruel, and Lucifer reminds her that one way or another, Noema is doomed whether she likes it or not. Elaine hands him a coin and tells him that if he can get Noema to accept the power, then it's hers. Lucifer thinks his job is done, but this is when Elaine touches his chest, and a huge amount of light begins to emit out of Lucifer's body. Elaine chuckles and says, "Think of this as a welcome home present." In the Silver City, demons and angels work together like automation to remodel it in perfect synchronicity. As we shift, we see that the new god has resurrected Michael and is currently telling him how they will make the world clean and new once it has been destroyed. Meanwhile, on Earth, Medjin wakes up to a horrifying revelation in her safe space that is Leander's closet. Her brother has finally betrayed her. He has told his mothers about her. Leander apologizes and confesses when Medjin questions him. "I had to tell them. I didn't know when we were coming back." Leander's mothers tried to handle the situation tenderly. They asked Medjin to come out so they can talk, but the cat's out of the bag. Medjin wants to know where they are going. Why won't they be coming back? And so, in the living room, Leander's mothers explain to her that they are going upstate to stay with a friend of theirs who is a serious prepper. They then address the elephant in the room. Though they understand what happened with the Parkers, they still called them just to be safe. This reveal, however, scares Medjean. She wants to know if they know where she is, if they're coming to take her away. Mallory and Rosa, Leander's foster mothers, do their best to reassure Medjean that everything's okay. They simply inform the Parkers that she was safe and completely fine. The family seem to have been worried about her, but Medjean knows that the damage has been done. Tears begin to flow down her cheeks as she defiantly states that she is not going back to the Parkers. Rosa and Mallory tell her that they don't want her to go back to the Parkers. Instead, they want her to come with them. But Medjean, however, has had her trust broken yet again. So she decides that her time here is over. She kisses her brother on the forehead, and though he pleads with her, Medjean apologizes to him, grabs her coat, and then takes off running. Nobody stays anywhere forever, and that's cause maybe no one's supposed to. And so, though Mallory chases Medjean for a mile or more, though Medjean can feel that she is leaving a very safe space behind, she doesn't stop running because something tells Medjean that her time here is over. And then angels begin to descend from the sky all over the world. One even towers over Medjean. They all scream in unison as they address the population. "Your end has come, humans! Your dominion is over, but glory in knowing that your death makes way for a better world." Meanwhile, in hell, a dejected Takehiko sits on the throne of a realm that is no longer important. Rosemary tries to pacify his anger and melancholically tells him that his sister Amaterasu once took him hunting and told him, "Ku wa tonoshimi no tane." Takehiko thought that it was a riddle, but now he understands its meaning. It means pain is the seed of pleasure. Then he is face to face with Michael, who orders Takehiko to give up the throne of hell and to join his grandfather, who has a use for him in his divine plan. Takehiko is simply focused on the purpose for which he was created, and so he says, "I was created for vengeance. That's all I want. If he can't give me that, then he can give me nothing." Michael agrees to his demands, and so the angels fly away with Takehiko. Takehiko screams for Rosemary. He did not agree to leave her behind, but Michael simply says, "That little smudge, she has no place in heaven." We now switch back to Elaine's creation, where Mona Doyle is busy reciting the history with her own fun embellishments. She figures that once upon a time there was a dad with a lot of sons. The dad was very strict and the sons were very good. But then Lucifer, one of the sons, dyed his hair and got into music and partying. This is accompanied by a cartoonish sketch of Lucifer screaming, "Free will forever!" while God angrily tries to ground him in his room. The other sons think Lucifer is a jerk now, and Lucifer thinks no one gets him. So Lucifer decided to make a treehouse with his friends Asmodeus and Beelzebub, a place where no one else was welcome. And then Mazikeen joined them. Mazikeen tells Mona that it certainly wasn't like that, and Gabriel points out that she forgot to include the war in hell in her retelling. Mona jokes that she thinks it was more of a dance battle, and this is when they are distracted by Lucifer's screams. Elaine explains to Lucifer that his Morningstar powers have returned, and when Lucifer says that he didn't want them back, Elaine simply states that he is free to give them away again after his confrontation with the presence. Mazikeen, Lucifer, and Gabriel then depart, and then take a breather in the Ex-Lux. As they do so, Elaine's narration tells us that though she is omniscient, there are still things she does not know. Things like what goes on in the hearts of other gods, or their hearts. Meanwhile, on Earth, Medjean hides in alleys as demons haunt the streets. She misses Leander already, and in hindsight, his mothers don't seem that scary. Medjean then runs into another alley and then gives Lauren a call. He told her that he would help her if she ever needed it, and so Medjean is calling in that favor right now. She hides again for some time, but then one of the demons spots her. However, before it can attack her, he is scared away by Lauren. Lauren comes to her rescue and tells her that he has a place for them to stay temporarily. However, another demon tries to attack them, and this is when a huge bodyguard shows up and shoots it in the head. Turns out Noema and her mother Jill are here to rescue her in a limo. Noema simply refused to leave town without Medjean. Jill tells Lauren and her that they have a safe house with supplies that would last them 2 years. The four of them drive away only to be face to face with Lucifer once they reach the safe house. Lucifer says, "Hi Noema, feel like saving the world?"
Lucifer issue number 12, Endgame.
This issue begins with this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson: "When you strike at a king, you must kill him." And thus begins the tale of the Bassanos. Once upon a time, there was a magician, Noema's mother, Jill. Her favorite trick was her tarot cards, but then one day they came to life and they were the Bassanos. They gave her twins, children she hated. Jill destroyed one of them, but the other she cannot imagine her life without. And so we continue where we left our story. Lucifer confronts Jill and tells her that he is here to give her daughter the powers that are her birthright. Jill, however, vehemently denies it. There's no way on earth she is letting Lucifer saddle Noema with that power. It was a gift that she didn't have to contend with the Basanos and their powers. Noema tries to butt in, but Jill screams over her and tells Lucifer that the world was a better place while he was gone. Lucifer is then forced to stand up and confront Jill. Has she told Noema what she is? Has she told Noema about her true father? Told her about her brother? Jill is furious, but she knows Lucifer is right, and so she drags Noema away for a talk. Noema instantly confronts her mother because she knows that Lucifer may be an asshole, but he isn't the one who's lying here. Her mother is the one who has lied to her. Jill tries to explain that she would have told Noema the truth once she was older, but Noema has already made the choice. She walks up to Lucifer and grabs the coin that was given to him by Elaine. As she does so, Lucifer says, "They say curiosity killed the cat." Nobody seems to remember the next line. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back. Noema is instantly transported into an ethereal realm, her mindscape, which is now occupied by the Basanos. At first she is alone, but then she is surrounded by the Basanos. They call her daughter over and over again, and then one of them touches her on the head with a stick and says, "Awaken." On Earth, Noema begins to scream, and Lucifer speculates that maybe she has been without her power for too long, that perhaps she may be unable to bear it anymore. Medjin jumps in to save her friend. The coin is the source of Noema's pain, and so she'll be able to save her if she gets it away from her, or at least that's what Medjin thinks. Lucifer tries to warn her, but Medjin has already touched the coin by the time Lucifer gets his words out, and so Medjin finds herself in the mindscape along with Noema, and the Basanos take her in. "Motherless child, you will be ours too," says one of them. "There were supposed to be two of them, twins," says another, and so they all begin to chant together over and over again. And so we find Mazikeen, Gabriel, Lucifer, Medjin, and Noema outside the Silver City sometime later. Mazikeen jokes that the last time they were here they had an army on their backs, and Lucifer calmly tells her that this time fate is on their side. She then expresses her concerns about the Basanos. Opening the doors to them was a bad idea. Lucifer agrees with her, but he also knows that a child is not its father, or at least that's what he keeps telling himself. Michael Demiragos and the other angels show up in a few seconds to fight them, and as him and Lucifer clash swords, Lucifer says, "Anyone home in that head of yours? Blink twice if you can hear me." Mazikeen then jumps in and attacks Michael and orders Lucifer to go to the Silver City, while she and Gabriel take care of these pests. How are Gabriel and Mazikeen able to hold back an army of angels, you ask? Well, it's the girls, Noema and Medjin. The Basanos see the future. They give the gift of anticipation. Mazikeen and Gabriel will know and anticipate every blow headed towards them. Lucifer then enters the Silver City and confronts the new god, who boasts that he knew Lucifer would be here. It was preordained by him. Lucifer, however, isn't amused. He says, "You're joking, right? It's not foresight if you cause it to happen." The new god defiantly states that he doesn't need Lucifer anymore. He has already absorbed the part of Lucifer that was stuck to Gabriel's blade. He claims that he has now learned everything, and so Lucifer asks him to tell a joke. After all, you can't be the devil if you aren't a bit cheeky. And this is when the new god tells Lucifer, "You misunderstand me. I have taken from you the part I need, nothing more. I have left the dross of your childishness, your preening, your braggadocio behind." Lucifer then confronts the new god for trying to destroy the world for the third time, and this is when the new god angrily gets up ready to fight Lucifer. Lucifer then boasts that he isn't here to fight, he is here to ruin him, and the new god says, "I will not miss you. You were a good idea, messily rendered. I will make you again and make you better, just as I have remade myself. I will remake everything." And this forces Lucifer to remind him that once he branded everything with his name, Yahweh, and when he went away, he took his name along as well. This world now is the world he gave up. It doesn't belong to him anymore. It belongs to someone else now. However, the new god angrily claims that this world belongs to him. Lucifer belongs to him, and that's because he created the world. He created Lucifer. However, Lucifer tells him that not everything you create belongs to you, and this is when the new god thinks that the battle is won. He welcomes Lucifer back to the great game and claims that he knew Lucifer would be back because once he got a taste for it, he wouldn't stop playing. Lucifer asks what's that supposed to mean, and the new god says, "I mean making worlds. I mean guiding them, shaping them, destroying them. Isn't that what I always wanted for you and for Michael? Elaine skilled but new. I was sure you couldn't resist once you'd begun." And then Lucifer does the unthinkable. He says, "That's where you're wrong. I'm here to give you a message. Elaine is holding this world together, not you. Don't force her hand. Keep your angel army. Keep my brothers and sisters brainwashed, but leave the world as it is. Whatever plagues or storms you've planned, pull them back, and we can all pretend you still have the power you've forsaken. The new god, however, doesn't believe Lucifer. He stabs Lucifer through the wound in his stomach once again, and then Lucifer tells him to look at Mazikeen and Gabriel. How are they holding the angels at bay? They wouldn't be able to do so unless someone gave them the gift of knowing where each blow will land before it falls. And when the new god watches them fighting, he realizes that Lucifer is telling the truth. However, this is also the moment in which Mazikeen gets stabbed in her side. The new god lets go of Lucifer and agrees to his demands, but only for now. He claims to remake the world because this world is still his. Lucifer adjusts his tie and says, "Whatever you are, you may have some of him in you. Perhaps you stole his power as you stole mine, but you are not my father." Lucifer then leaves and catches up with Gabriel, who holds Mazikeen in his arms. He tells Gabriel that she was attacked from 3 sides. Knowing where the blow was going to land was redundant in that scenario. The two of them fly back to the X-Lux with Mazikeen, and as soon as Lucifer lays her down on a bed, Elaine storms in. She didn't want to get involved, but now Lucifer has made the new god believe that Elaine threatened him. Lucifer tells her that he simply told him that he was bringing a message. He never told the new god who it was from. Elaine knows that there's no point arguing with her uncle now. She turns around to leave and says, "You dragged me into this fight. You may come to regret it." Once Elaine has left, Lucifer wakes up Mazikeen and the two of them make love. Meanwhile, Noema and Medjean return to Jill's home, where she quickly hugs her daughter. Noema mystically tells her mother that she is both more and less than she was before, but she is still Noema, her daughter. Jill offers Medjean a place in her family, but Medjean tells them that she is going back to her brother Leander, now that she has the power to protect them both. Gabriel, meanwhile, is enjoying Los Angeles, the city of reinvention. He is busy eating some Chinese food when he is approached by Lauren. Lauren offers Gabriel a job. He wants to find one of his brothers and save him, and in exchange, he offers Gabriel some money, albeit not a lot. When Gabriel asks him who he wants saved, Lauren slams his hand on the table and claims that Raphael is his boyfriend. However, he instantly begins to correct himself because they never define their relationship, and Gabriel cuts him off and tells him that he'll take the case. That night, Mazikeen is headed back to hell, but Lucifer pleads with her to stay for another drink. Sometime later, the two of them are busy waltzing away when Mazikeen says, "So, are you thinking what I'm thinking? That we're going to have to kill God? You read my mind." Lucifer, issue number 13. Happy Holidays. This is a Christmas issue of the comic and not really related to the main story we're following, so we'll go over this issue briskly. It's December 5th, which means it's Krampusnacht, and everyone in Los Angeles is out to participate in the Krampuslauf, the running of the Krampuses. The X-Lux is full of fresh victims for Lucifer's demons, and both Mazikeen and Lucifer approve of this slaughter behind closed doors. They may have seemed like heroes, but do not forget, Lucifer is still the devil, and Mazikeen is the current ruler of hell. We then head across town to catch up with two broke friends named Wayne and Jesse. Jesse convinces Wayne to rob a store so that they have some money for the holidays, and minutes later, they are robbing a store in downtown. The man behind the counter hands over the money easily, but warns them not to take the briefcase. It was left by a magician, and he is holding it for her. Jesse forces the man to hand it over, and he opens the briefcase to find a large coin inside that he can't stop staring at. The shopkeeper, who is already on his way out of the shop, then says, "It hurts to look at, right? But with that pain comes an intense rush of pleasure. And every day, you'll look a little longer. Both the pleasure and pain will increase until you die. She warned me never to open the briefcase, and I never have. Happy holidays." And he's right. After the robbery, Jesse is in a daze, and he doesn't listen to what Wayne is saying. They enter the X-Lux for a drink, and this is when Wayne decides enough is enough. He rips open the duffel bag to see what Jesse has been fiddling with, and the sight of the coin traps him as well. Mazikeen and Lucifer discuss the coin. It is Jin and Mok's cursed coin, and Lucifer simply states that this problem will take care of itself. Jesse and Wayne begin fighting over the coin. Wayne manages to grab it, and he starts running, giggling like a little boy. Wayne thinks this is a game, and so when Jesse catches him, he swallows the coin. Jesse pulls out his gun and orders Wayne to throw up, and this is when Wayne knows that things are serious. Before Jesse can pull the trigger, he tackles his friend and smashes his face into the wall. He then grabs a drink at the bar and orders a steak because it will give him access to a huge, sharp knife. Moments later, a disemboweled Wayne is lying in one of the back rooms, and Lucifer grabs the cursed coin out of his cold hands and says, "It doesn't usually take them so fast, little fool. Who did you annoy?" Lucifer gifts the coin to Mazikeen, and the two of them walk out to celebrate with everyone. Meanwhile, in hell, two demons are busy making a secret Santa present for Lucifer. They're under the assumption that Lucifer is still their enemy, and Mazikeen would be happy when they trick him on Christmas. Back in the X-Lux, Lucifer's bartender Reggie tells him about the man he beat up because Reggie caught him spiking someone's drink. Mazikeen joins Lucifer at the bar, and this is when Reggie tells them both about the secret Santa event in half an hour. Lucifer doesn't like the idea of it, but Mazikeen thinks it's charming. Lucifer reluctantly pulls out a name from the hat, and wouldn't you know it, he is Reggie's secret Santa. By now, the demons in hell have finished their cursed gift. It's a diamond ring. They sneak into the X-Lux and add their gift to the pile. Lucifer gets his secret Santa gift, and it turns out someone named a star after him. Lucifer finds the gift charming, and next, it's Angelina's turn. She opens the present from hell, the diamond ring, and before Lucifer and Mazikeen can stop her, Angelina reads aloud the accompanying curse on it. Instantly, she is transformed into a humongous monster, and Mazikeen is forced to fight her. Lucifer is given yet another present from the pile addressed to him, and it is a note along with a potion. The note reads, "Lucifer, when it all goes to hell, use this." This note is from someone named Rachel, and Lucifer instantly chucks the potion at the monster. He then rescues Mazikeen, tells Reggie to take care of her, and then goes out and finds the man Reggie beat up for spiking the woman's drink. He takes the man up into space to see the star that was just named after him, and because the sin that the man was trying to commit wasn't in the spirit of free will, Lucifer is going to punish him. And also because he owes Reggie a gift. Lucifer throws him into the star and then catches up with Mazikeen in the X-Lux. The two of them share a pleasant drink, and Mazikeen promises to find the demons responsible for today's little adventure. Lucifer also shows her the note and potion from Rachel, and this brings us to the end. Lucifer, issue number 14. Happy New Year! It's a brand new year, but the story is as old as time. A fractured family, two sons fight two fathers. The world is coming undone, and for every old love kindled, there's new hate. Elaine has pledged neutrality. The new god has pledged blood and fire, whereas Lucifer, he is yet to reveal his hand. As always, it's the innocent who suffer, and Lucifer, though his powers have been restored, he is yet to realize their true purpose. And so our story begins with Lucifer, Mazikeen, and Gabriel in the X-Lux. Gabriel wants to know their plan, and Lucifer, albeit after leading him in circles, tells Gabriel that he hasn't thought of a plan yet. But first things first, they need power, a lot of it, and they're going to have to take it by force. When Gabriel asks for a target, Lucifer tells him that he wants Gabriel to go on a different assignment. He wants Gabriel to go and chat with Briadoc the Blind, the Lord of the Lilim. He then tells them that he has to find Raphael first, and when Lucifer tells him to do that later, Gabriel throws a tantrum because he made Lauren a promise. He then leaves, and we learn that Mazikeen and Lucifer were being annoying to Gabriel so that they could get rid of him. And that's because the first true power that Lucifer wants to get is Gabriel's missing heart. Someone owes Lucifer a favor. Someone whom even Mazikeen seems to be afraid of. Someone who is currently getting herself soaked in the rain because she just lost her fourth umbrella. As for business, that's not going well either. She's broke and all she has in her pocket is $1.17. Then she says something awfully peculiar. "You've disappointed me again, money. If you can't buy me love, you should at least buy me dinner." And then suddenly she notices someone getting attacked by a demon in the streets. The demon threatens to eat the man alive, and this is when the woman comes charging in, casts a spell, and destroys the demon. The man thanks her over and over again, and she tells him that if he really wants to thank her, then he should pay for her saving his life. The man tells her that he has only $40, and she tells him to consider this an introductory discount. She then hands him a couple of her cards and asks him to distribute them between his family, because considering the times, she knows she will be needed again. This is when we get to know her name, Arabelle Crane, licensed and bonded exorcist, specializing in demons and divorces. And thus we head to X-Lux. The time has finally come for Mazikeen to depart and head back to hell. Lucifer doesn't want to let her go. He offers her another drink and maybe 6 more considering their habits, but Mazikeen simply kisses him on the cheek and tells him to not start an apocalypse in her absence. In hell, Mazikeen finds the streets deserted, the shops destroyed, and the imps and Lilim hiding in corners. She walks into her castle and then the throne room, only to find everything deserted. Her throne is occupied by Rosemary, who instantly gets up upon hearing her voice. Mazikeen reprimands her, tells Rosemary to stay where she is, but ultimately it becomes clear that Rosemary is innocent and not many of Mazakine's subjects remain in hell. Most of them have succumbed to the power of the new god, and this is when Mazakine asks what Rosie was doing on her throne. And Rosie tells her that she knew nothing about hell or its ways when she first came here. All she knew was that she was beside her beloved Takehiko. He's gone now, Rosemary's dead, and she doesn't know what to do with her life anymore. Mazakine decides to go easy on the girl and learns that Takehiko was taken to heaven by the angels after he was promised revenge on Lucifer. She also learns that Izanami is sheltering Asmodeus and Beelzebub in the House of Windowless Rooms, and decides that she should pay them a visit. But Rosemary stops her. She tells Mazakine that this is a bad idea, because taking all three of them head on is too much for her. Rosemary then offers to help Mazakine because she is the only one in hell rooting for her. Mazakine then asks Rosemary what she has in mind, and the newly formed ghost coyly replies, "I can do absolutely nothing. I'm utterly powerless. Do you see?" And Mazakine nods. She seems to get Rosie's hint, and the two of them decide to take a walk through hell as they discuss their steps. Meanwhile, let's head to Earth and focus on Gabriel. He was once God's most beloved, but now he is damned and missing a heart he lost in a foolish moment of passion. But aren't passion and foolishness the same thing, at least for an angel? Yet here he is again at passion's mercy, trying to save a boy's foolish love for a lost angel. Passion for a world he never wanted. He plays passion's fool once more, but this time he doesn't mind it so much. Gabriel ponders over all this as he flies through the air and finally lands beside Lauren Hammond. Meanwhile, Arabelle Crane is happily heading back home after having grabbed some fresh pad thai, only to be surprised by an intruder rummaging through her stuff. She calls out to him only to realize that the devil himself has come to her abode to have a face-to-face conversation with her. The shock of this is too much for Arabelle, and she ends up dropping all her stuff on the ground while furiously saying "fuck" over and over again. Lucifer tells her to calm down. He is simply rummaging through her fridge to find something to eat now that she has dropped the takeout she was supposed to have for dinner with him. Arabelle defiantly states that if she is going to hell, she sure as hell isn't going there hungry. She then begins to pick up the food from the floor, and Lucifer joins her and helps her. He reveals that he is not here to take her to hell, but instead to offer her a chance to pay off her debt. Arabelle jokingly asks if there's any money in the job, and Lucifer warns her not to push her luck with him. Meanwhile, in the House of Windowless Rooms, Beelzebub and Asmodeus are busy manipulating Izanami to their will. Izanami may be in her own realm, but right now she is alone. She has no counsel, and so when the two ancient demons tell her that Hell's throne is ripe for the taking, she can't help but be enticed by the idea of it. But Izanami knows her priorities. She calls the two of them out for not allowing her even a moment to mourn the loss of her son. And this is when Asmodeus says, "I have nothing but the greatest respect for you, Izanami, but damn your mourning." And Beelzebub joins him and says, "The throne is yours, milady. How many remain in hell to oppose you?" And Izanami can't help but indulge them. She tells them that according to her spies in hell, a few hundred and at most 1,000 demons remain who would dare to oppose her. Apart from that, the others have either been destroyed or have been taken to the Silver City. Beelzebub and Asmodeus double down. This is the perfect opportunity. What's stopping Izanami from marching in and laying claim to hell? And Izanami says, "What I see are two of the greatest fallen hiding under a woman's skirt. Two powerful lords of hell, each of whom could claim the realm for himself. Yet both wish me to sit upon the throne. I wonder if it's as a queen or a target." The two of them quickly back away and tell her that they simply want her to hold the throne until Takehiko, the rightful heir's glorious return. However, before they can say more, Rosemary walks in and tells them that while the three of them were hiding and sniveling, she was looking out for their family's interests. Rosie says, "I made a deal with a moron, Mazakine. She's back, and she thinks I'm going to help her. That moron." Meanwhile, in the Silver City, the new god summons all his brainwashed angels, including Takehiko, and forces them to profess their love for him, their father. Takehiko chimes in and tells him that he is not his father, and this prompts the new god to pacify Takehiko and tell him that he will have his revenge and much more when the time comes, for Takehiko has a much bigger part to play in his great grand plan. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we are now introduced to the demon Malphus, who is convening with his chosen human and taken son, Iane Sante. Malphus has been helping Iane to become a real estate tycoon, and he has been rather successful at it. And now that the Earth is overrun with escaped demons from hell, It's the perfect time to capitalize on it. But Malphus has his eyes on the bigger picture, and he plans to help Iane gain far more power and wealth than he frankly deserves. He tells Iane, "Hell is spent, and God makes heaven into a new hell. That leaves us to make a new heaven here on earth, a heaven of blood and suffering. We need another to make the plan work, Lucifer." And Iane tells Malphus, "I'll bring him to you, even if there's nothing left to bring but his head." And Malphus tells Iane that he is a vicious boy, has always been a vicious boy. It's why he was chosen by Malphus. Lucifer, issue number 15, Little Girls Lost. Once upon a time, there was a pretty little girl. She won prizes for her beauty and everybody loved her. But as she grew, she became weary of her beauty and people's false love. The things the girl loved made her, in the eyes of others, less beautiful and malleable, so she loved them all the more. One day, the little girl left home to seek adventure. Her mom cried, her dad wondered who'd cleaned out their savings account. This is Arabelle's story, and after leaving home, Arabelle began experimenting with magic. She loved it, and soon she learned that she had a talent for it. Turns out Arabelle had a little too much talent for magic. She was reckless, and she ended up accidentally conjuring a demon that tried to eat her boyfriend. She managed to save him, but the damage was done. He became scared of her, and their love eventually faded away. She moved to San Francisco afterwards, where she fell in love with a witch. But the witch was more powerful than her, and deep in her heart she hid darker desires. And so their love faded away too. Now, years later, Arabelle has cut her hair. She has become the most powerful mage she knows, and things she loved as a girl she loves now because they're the easiest. So she sits dumbfounded in front of Lucifer in her apartment as the Lord of Hell casually tells her that he has a job for her. He wants her to find Gabriel's heart. A flabbergasted Arabelle is astounded at the fact that angels have hearts, and Lucifer scoffs and tells her that if she does this job, he would consider her debt paid. Arabelle sulks because it feels like she doesn't have a choice, and this is where Lucifer reminds her that he has been covering for her for a long time. He's not the unreasonable one here. I mean, Arabelle did accidentally release a demon in the X-Lux last year, and this blast from the past stops Arabelle's cribbing. Lucifer then hands her a business card for a Dr. Cormac, a man who supposedly specializes in body parts and is an avid collector of them. Dr. Cormac won't have Gabriel's heart, but he will be able to point Arabelle in the right direction. She then brings up the problem of cash. She isn't exactly rolling in it, and whoever has Gabriel's heart won't just willingly hand it over in exchange for nothing. And this is when Lucifer hands her a box. Whoever opens this box will see their heart's desire above all else. Arabelle is tempted to use the box herself, and this is when Lucifer warns her, when a genie grants a wish, it gives you what you asked for, but not necessarily what you want. Arabelle decides to heed the devil's warning, and this is when we switch to Medjean, who has managed to find Leander and his mothers, Mallory and Rosa. Medjean has changed. Her journey here wasn't as hard as she would have expected, but it was strange, and Medjean wonders if that's how the world usually works. Everything has been strange lately, and it's only getting stranger, including Medjean. Leander hugs her, drags her inside, and upon meeting his mothers, Medjean can't help but warn them about what's going to happen instantly. She tells them that they need to come with her quickly, and this makes them all wonder if they are in danger, and Medjean nods and orders them to get away from the front door quickly. Seconds later, 4 thugs barge in uninvited while acting as if they are scared of the monsters outside. These 4 criminals are simply taking advantage of the current climate, and when they come face to face with Medjean's family, they threaten them and tell them that they are going to stay the night. Medjean warns them to go away, but when they don't listen to her, Medjean is forced to unleash her power. You see, the Bossanos move within Medjean. They move within her and show her everything. The men's past, their futures, and her own as well. And so Medjean's eyes glow with eternal fire as she says, "Christopher Salas in Folsom, you'll insult the head of a prison gang. His men will break your ribs, puncture your lung, you'll lose an eye. Let it happen now." And in an instant, the man's eye bursts, his rib cage crumbles, and his lung collapses. Medjean then turns to the other man, Joshua Carlson. He will die of the same kind of lung cancer that killed his father. And so Medjean simply speeds up the process, and Joshua begins to vomit blood. She then turns to the others and orders them to take Christopher and Joshua away, unless they want to suffer the same fate. Leander, though scared, reaches out to his sister and touches her shoulder, and Medjean grabs his hand and reassures him that everything is okay. They're safe for now. She then says, "I'm sorry I scared you. I didn't want to do it, but I had to protect Leander and both of you. You're my family now. I'll take care of you, but we have to leave tonight." Medjean then tells them that they will be heading west, and though Rosa and Mallory are reluctant at first, after all, Medjean is asking a lot from them, but the case with Leander is totally different. Even before his sister has finished with her sentence, Leander is already running upstairs to pack his bags. Gabriel, meanwhile, is having a rather tough time answering Lauren's questions. Gabriel hasn't found anything about Raphael. He is brainwashed and enslaved just like the other angels, and Lauren doesn't seem to be able to grasp this concept. How can angels be enslaved? With all the powers they have, how could heaven's residents be enslaved? And Gabriel is forced to remind him that angels aren't God. This is when the rain stops and Gabriel remarks that God has finally begun holding true to his promise. He then tries to get Lauren to sign up for Tinder, but a furious Lauren screams that he doesn't want a hookup. He wants his boyfriend, Raphael. And this is when Gabriel jokes that he may have another solution for him and then points to the club behind him where they're hosting a singles night. Lauren tells Gabriel that he is the lamest angel ever, and Gabriel can't help but agree with him dejectedly. As Arabelle steps out to go meet Dr. Cormac, she realizes that the rain has stopped, which means the demons are gone, which in turn means that her business is going to take a huge hit. She takes the bus and cribs that Lucifer could have given her cab fare. There's a priest sitting beside her and she tells him that the literal devil gave her a job with no cab fare. This spooks the priest and he gets up and switches seats, and we learn that Arabelle scared the man so that she could have the seat all to herself. She meets Cormac sometime later, who was already informed of her arrival by Lucifer. As they talk, we learn that Cormac exploits the poor and the needy by offering free services. In return, he harvests them for organs and fluids which he loves to collect. When Arabelle tells him that she's looking for Gabriel's heart, he tells her that he knows someone that might have it in their collection. He then asks what he would get in return, and Arabelle hands him the box given to her by Lucifer. Cormac opens it, and inside is a potion he has dreamed about his entire life, Peliquin's Draught. He quickly agrees to the deal and hands her over the name on the piece of paper. He then grabs the potion and tells Arabelle that this potion grants eternal life. Arabelle couldn't care less. After all, who wants immortality in a world like this? Apparently Cormac does, and he begins chugging the potion the very next second. But suddenly Cormac's skin turns translucent, his body begins to bloat, his bones vanish, and so does his nervous system. And then he begins to shrink rapidly until he is no bigger than a jello shot from a frat party. Arabelle calls Lucifer. She tells him what has happened and demands answers, and Lucifer chuckles and tells her that Turritopsis dornii happened. Turritopsis dornii is a minuscule jellyfish that can return to the polyp stage anytime it likes, which essentially makes it immortal. Lucifer advises her to flee the scene before the authorities get there, and wouldn't you know it, Arabelle is already bolting out of the back door when Lucifer says this. Meanwhile, in the middle of nowhere, we find Lula on a bus on the way to Los Angeles. Beside her is an old lady named Jess knitting sweaters. They talk about life, and Lula opens up that she is going to see the only friend she cares about in this world, Lauren. But she isn't sure if he'd want to see her. She doesn't even know if he likes her anymore. Jess reassures her that everything will be alright, and this is when they both notice that the bus is speeding up rapidly. Lula decides to go check on the driver, but before she can reach the front, the bus crashes and rolls over a couple of times. Everything and everyone inside is flung in every direction, and by the end of it, most of them are dead. Lula thankfully finds herself relatively unscathed in the aisle, but when she goes to check on Jess, she finds the old lady stabbed through the head by her knitting needle. She then hears a baby crying who seems to be the only other survivor of the crash. Lula picks up the baby and introduces herself to him in order to calm him down, and to her surprise and astonishment, the baby talks back to her. It says, I know, and no, your name isn't Lula, it's Janet, but don't worry, your secret's safe with me. Dumbfounded, Lula asks the baby how he's doing this, how does he know her real name, and how is he able to talk to her without moving its lips. The baby tells her that it is psychic and then quickly says, listen, my name is Paul. When the police come, it's important that you keep me with you. Big things are happening in the world and you're part of them. Meanwhile, in the X-Lux, Lucifer is brewing a plan of his own. One of his demons who has the head of a fly enters his personal quarters only to find Lucifer slicing his hand to draw blood. Lucifer needs to perform an important ritual, and for it he's going to need one of the demon's compound eyes. Upon being reassured that it won't hurt, the demon agrees, and with a single swift move of his hand, Lucifer takes what he wants. He then stares into the eye while holding it in his bleeding hand, which allows him to peer through space-time and watch what's happening in Heaven's throne room in real time. The new god is forcing the angels to sing for him, to worship him, and then he summons Takehiko. It is time to begin their grand bargain, and so the new god sets the terms. Takehiko wants revenge. He wishes to kill his father, Lucifer, and when Takehiko confirms this, the new god says, good, and you'll pay any price, even if it is painful? Takehiko agrees, and then the new god says, I made a promise to Lucifer. I told him that I would make a new Lucifer, but without his flaws, his will and vanity. You will be my new light bringer. Prepare yourself.
The new god then stabs Takehiko with numerous tentacles, and this enrages Lucifer back in the Ex-Lux. He says, "You miserable creature, you ludicrous bastard. You think you can rattle me by making me consider not just murdering you, but killing my son." Lucifer then grabs a corkscrew and says, "All heaven once called me a beast and a monster, but you have me beaten there. However, that's all you've done. You think you've seen the worst of me? I haven't begun to show you my worst." He then punches the wall beside him with the corkscrew and pulls out a sword that he had hidden there when he created the Ex-Lux. This is the Sword of Eden, the blade that once guarded Eden. Lucifer, issue number 16, Road Tripping. Proofless has always been a loyal servant to Lucifer, and while Lucifer shines and polishes the Sword of Eden, he tells him that Gabriel is here to meet him, though he has held off on letting him in because he was wet. Eventually, Gabriel is let in, who instantly asks Lucifer why Proofless wouldn't let him in, and Lucifer reminds Gabriel that Proofless is a cat, which means he hates water and anything that's wet. Gabriel then focuses on the sword and wonders where Lucifer got it. The Lord of Hell smirks, and it doesn't take even a second for Gabriel to realize that Lucifer stole it. Still stuck in his own ways, Gabriel is furious that Lucifer would do such a thing, and Lucifer changes the subject and asks Gabriel how things are with Lauren. Gabriel says, "Disastrous. I'm the worst angel in creation." And Lucifer says, "Careful now, you're treading on my territory." A dejected Gabriel then opens up and tells Lucifer that he doesn't even know what to do anymore. They're supposed to kill the new god, he's supposed to help Lauren and Raphael, but he doesn't even know what the plan is anymore, or where he fits in it. Lucifer hands him a drink to calm him down and tells him to be patient. He then says, "In the meantime, if you have any hidden swords, now might be a good time to get them." Meanwhile, in Ian Sante's office, his secretary Clarice brings him the deed of an obscure company that he had forgotten about. She makes small talk with him, they chat about all the businesses he owns, and then she takes her leave. As she is walking out, Malphus emerges out of the dark, grabs her, and then wipes her memory of this entire conversation happening. Ian thanks Malphus because Clarice is a good secretary and he didn't want to have her killed just because she knew too much. Malphus nods and then begins to study the papers. Through their conversation, we learn that Malphus wants Ian to bankrupt this small real estate company and assures him that it would be a show of good faith and loyalty at the right time. And in return, when this is all over, Ian will get Lucifer's Morningstar powers. This is when Ian makes the mistake of doubting himself. He says, "Do you think I can handle that?" And instantly, Malphus punches him in the face. He then reminds Ian that he is magnificent, his perfect specimen, and he is going to be perfect for this job. Ian understands Malphus but questions him again because surely Lucifer would be able to tell that he's lying. And Malphus in turn tells him, "You shall have something that will fool even the devil, one of the rarest commodities in existence. Innocence." He then places his hand on Ian and takes away his memories. We then catch up with Arabelle, who has found the demon Casanova, who is currently in possession of Gabriel's heart. Arabelle tries to act cool, asks about the heart, only to learn that it's right in front of her. The powder, the lines Casanova has been snorting, that is Gabriel's heart. Arabelle is flabbergasted, and Casanova tells her, "You ain't been high till you've been angel high. Care for it? First one's free." Arabelle refuses his offer and tells him that she wants all of it instead. This is a huge demand which makes Casanova suspicious. He wants to know who she represents, but Arabelle refuses to answer. Casanova obviously assumes that she has been sent by Gabriel. Who else would pay a huge price for his heart? And this angers him. He tells her that the heart isn't for sale anymore, and Arabelle nods and tells him what if they traded instead. She then pulls out the box and opens it in front of Casanova, who is instantly enamored by its contents. He instantly agrees to a deal, and Arabelle thanks him for his time. Meanwhile, a lost and frankly helpless Lula holds Paul amidst the wreckage as emergency responders survey the scene around her. Paul reassures her over and over again that help is on the way, but this only scares her more. She is talking to a baby after all, a baby too mature for his age, a baby too self-aware for his age. He makes jokes and somehow can tell the future. This is definitely a monster taking advantage of her, but this is when a car stops near them, and Medjean comes rushing out to meet them. She introduces herself and then begins talking to Paul. Lula tells her that Paul is scary, and Medjean tells her that Paul is special and has a part to play in the grand plan. And this is when Paul looks at Lula and says, "How do you think I feel? I'm the size of a bunny, I poop myself constantly, and I can't even walk." Medellin then takes Paul from Lula and tells her that they'll offer her a ride to the airport so that she can fly to Los Angeles. Leander's mothers will pay for her ticket, and so Lula has no choice but to get in the car. But the prospective future is giving her anxiety, and she tells Medellin, "I want to see Lauren, but what am I going to do in LA? I don't even have a place to crash. I didn't really think this through." This is when Medellin tells Leander to hand over the note she wrote for Lula. It's the address of Arabelle Queen, and Lula is supposed to go to her apartment. When she gets there, the door will be open, and Medellin orders her to call 911 as soon as she enters the apartment. Once she has done that, she is supposed to call the number she has written at the bottom. Meanwhile, in the House of Windowless Rooms, Beelzebub and Asmodeus have managed to convince Izanami to take over Hell. A plan has been agreed upon, and so Izanami gets up and declares, "It's agreed then. Though our forces are small, we shall band together and dispatch Mazikeen, dividing Hell between us. But I get the throne." The two demons agree with her, and upon her warning, they reassure her that they don't plan to betray her. She then turns to Rosemary, who says to Izanami, "Mazikeen doesn't suspect a thing. I'm a harmless little specter, her pet." And this gives Izanami an idea. She hands Rosemary a needle and tells her that she is supposed to stab Mazikeen with it in the back of the neck when she gets the chance. Rosemary asks if the needle would hurt, and Izanami angrily replies, "Exquisitely. She and Lucifer must pay for what they did to my son." Lucifer, meanwhile, has reached the adobe of Briadoc the Blind. Briadoc's minions try to stop him. They are no longer his servants, and a bemused Lucifer entertains their threats. But when it's clear he won't back down, the Lilim release an army of golems on him that they have created from the filth of Los Angeles. And though they hinder Lucifer for a moment, the Lilim aren't aware that his Morningstar powers have been restored, and so he destroys their golem army in an instant, and the Lilim have no choice but to take him to Briadoc the Blind. Briadoc begins blaming Lucifer as soon as he enters, says that the Lord of Hell is here to torment him, but Lucifer denies it and says that he is here to learn what Briadoc knows about the new god. After all, he is clairvoyant, and in return, Lucifer will spare his life and that of his followers. Briadoc the Blind then says, "You smell foul, Lucifer, but it suits you. You are corruption incarnate. You carry death in your touch." Lucifer thinks Briadoc the Blind is complimenting him, and so he asks about the new god again. But this is when he says, "I have already told you what you need to know, but you're too dull to know it. I don't suppose you could be a bit clearer? No. Now kill me and put me out of my misery." Oh, I'd never do that. We then head to Flagstaff, Arizona, where Medellin makes the car stop in front of a random suburban house. There they are greeted by Rachel, Paul's sister, who is a shaman. Like Medellin, she has the power of sight, albeit not as powerful as the Basanos. Rachel invites them all inside, and she tells her moms everything that is about to happen. Paul then reveals to them that Rachel and Medellin are supposed to take him to see Lucifer, and the idea of this happening terrifies Rosa and Mallory. But they don't have a say in the matter, and Medellin tells Rachel that she would like to invite a friend on their journey. Rachel tells her that they can do so as long as her friend can find them. Meanwhile, back in Hell, Mazikeen has gathered the remaining demons and is actively discussing the confrontation that is about to happen when Rosemary enters the throne room. Rosemary makes the excuse that she got lost while reminiscing about Takehiko, and this prompts Mazikeen to chide her because they are at the brink of war. This is when three important demons pledge their lives to Mazikeen. One of them introduces himself as Yequan, the shifter of shapes, brewer of potions, and the curse of the living. He tells Mazikeen that he would die for her, and Mazikeen warns him that he should be careful what he wishes for. But Yequan doesn't back down, and this gives Mazikeen an idea, but nobody notices Rosemary holding the needle behind her back. Meanwhile, back at Arabelle's apartment, temptation has taken hold of her. She pours out Gabriel's powdered heart while actively talking to herself in an attempt to stop. Unfortunately, it does not work, and Arabelle snorts the powder. Her body seizes, blood streams out of her nose, and Arabelle drops to the floor, and coincidentally, this is when Lula enters her apartment. Noema, meanwhile, gets a premonition and realizes that she needs to be with Medellin. She tells Jill about it, and Jill has no choice but to agree with her daughter's wishes. She reassures her mother that things will be okay. This prompts Jill to say, "Is it okay for me to be scared?" And Noema says, "I'm scared too. We can be scared together." Back at the X-Lux, Lucifer gets the call from Lula just like Medellin had instructed. He tells her that she did great and to be with Arabelle at the hospital, and then cuts the call. When Gabriel asks him about it, Lucifer tells him that an acquaintance is in the hospital, but that they don't need to go there because he doesn't know if she will live. The visit could be a waste. Gabriel screams, "I can't believe you sometimes!" And this is when Proofless brings a letter to Lucifer. It's for the X-Lux, an eviction notice. And this is when Gabriel laughs and says, "You were right earlier. I'm not the worst angel in creation." Lucifer, issue number 17, Death and Deception. This issue begins with a quote from Pope Paul VI that goes as follows: "A dimple on the chin, the devil within." In hell, Mazikeen is surrounded by all the loyal demons that Yikon has managed to gather. He informs her that there are more, but the filth have decided to side with Izanami. She applauds Yikon for all the work he has done, and when Rosemary doubts their numbers, Mazikeen tells her to stop because loyal warriors can trump numbers easily. Rosie then begins to doubt herself. She has never been in a war, nor has she been particularly brave. And Izanami is still family. However, this is when Mazikeen reminds her that Izanami and Takehiko are the ones who murdered her. Takehiko struck the balcony where she was at the orders of his mother. Rosemary apologizes to Mazikeen, and this is when the Queen of Hell holds her by the shoulders and says, "There is nothing to forgive. Stay close to me. We'll both be avenged shortly. Yikon, you and your friends come along. Let us strategize." At the X-Lux, Lucifer is angrily going over the eviction notice. This shouldn't have happened. This couldn't have happened. Yet the papers don't lie. Lucifer wants to eviscerate whoever is responsible for this. And then there's the matter of deciphering what Briadoc told him. What did he mean when he said Lucifer smelled foul and reeked of corruption? Meanwhile, in hell, Mazikeen has called in all her loyal demons because she has finally decided on a strategy. She gets up from her throne and orders them to fetch their weapons. However, this is when Rosemary pulls out the needle and stabs Mazikeen in the back of the neck. The Queen of Hell bellows. The next second, her body goes limp and drops to the floor. Mazikeen is no more. By the time her army gets over the shock of what has just happened, Rosemary has already gone through the portal to Yomi. Meanwhile, in the X-Lux, Lucifer is approached by Ian Sante, who too has been served an eviction notice. After Malthus took his memory away, Ian believes the lie he is telling, and so Lucifer has no choice but to believe him. But he does take note of the fact that someone like him finds himself in the same position as him, someone as innocent as him in these matters. Ian offers Lucifer the chance to join forces to find out who did this to them, and though Lucifer is reluctant and plays with Ian at first, he eventually takes interest when Ian reveals that he plans to completely destroy the culprit. Back in Yomi, Rosemary shows up and informs everyone that she has murdered Mazikeen. At first, neither the demons nor Izanami believe her, but when she shows them the army of demons at their doorstep, they are forced to accept the truth. Back in the X-Lux, Lucifer convinces Ian to handle the investigation on his own, and to keep his involvement a secret. Ian takes his leave, and this is when Lucifer gets a call from Lula. She informs him that Arabelle is still alive, and this is when Lucifer offers her a job. She is to go to Arabelle's apartment and fetch the drugs for him. All of them. He warns her not to use them and offers to pay for everything once she gets here. He then tells her to get here by 8 because he has another appointment that he needs to get to before meeting her. In the back, Gabriel brings Lauren in to meet Asbel, the demon who manages the bar. He tells her to get Lauren a job in order to keep him safe because he has finally decided to go and rescue Raphael no matter what happens. Lauren hugs him and apologizes for all the mean things he said earlier, and Asbel hires him as a barback. She then leads Lauren away, and Gabriel tries to gather his courage to finally face the task at hand. Meanwhile, Rachel, Paul, and Medjean are out on a spirit walk, and this is when Noema joins them. Rachel explains the process of spirit walking to them by saying, "We're slightly out of the ordinary world. Not far, just far enough. We're going to see someone I never thought I'd want to see again." Before Noema can question who that is, they are face to face with the devil himself. Rachel introduces Paul to him, and Paul tells him that he has some important information to share. He says, "It's about the presence. You see, up there, they don't pay much attention to young souls waiting for bodies, so they talk in front of us. All kinds of things. Secrets. They discuss the presence's plans." Lucifer eagerly tells Paul to spill everything he has heard, and the baby says, "The presence lied when he said he'd leave the world alone. The moment he's done rebuilding the Silver City, when it fills the sky, he's going to attack." Lucifer nods. This is what he was afraid of. He calls the new god a treacherous fool and then thanks all of them for bringing him this information. Rachel thanks them for bringing Paul to him, and Lucifer then tells them that he's going to need them all. He is going to need their help in the upcoming plan. Gabriel meanwhile reaches the Silver City only to hear the presence calling out to Raphael in the throne room. Gabriel peeks in and finds something peculiar. Raphael cleaning or healing the new god, as he says, "Heal me, Raphael. Free me of this contamination." Gabriel knows that this is important. Lucifer needs to know about this, but because he hasn't been spotted yet, he decides to spy for a couple more minutes. Back on Earth, Lucifer returns to the X-Lux to find out that all of his workers and demons have been thrown out of his piano bar. The police have barricaded the door and Lucifer angrily kicks it in. He then says, "We'll do what we always do, water the thirsty and the damned, and destroy anyone who tries to stop us. Maybe I'll even play the piano." Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Arabelle suddenly wakes up. She gags, coughs, removes the oxygen mask from her face, and this is when she remembers what happened. Lucifer knew she would be tempted. He knew she would need saving. Once again, she was a pawn in his games, and Arabelle doesn't like being a pawn. Back at the X-Lux, Lula arrives and hands over Gabriel's heart to Lucifer, but before he can thank her properly, she runs across Lauren, who is busy serving drinks. He's pleasantly surprised to see her, and right out of the gate, he tells her that he is in love with an angel. Lula casually tells him that she met a creepy talking baby, and they both chuckle and reconcile. Lucifer then gets on the stage and addresses everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the X-Lux tonight. Existence has taken some odd turns as of late. Just a few days ago, it seemed almost like the end of the world, but we survived. To commemorate these strange days, I'd like to play for you As Time Goes By." But as soon as Lucifer hits the first note, the entire building begins to shake. But he doesn't stop. Lucifer continues to play and the building begins to crumble. Everyone panics and runs away as the walls come down, and there, entering through the hole, are Takehiko and a brainwashed Michael and Raguel. Takehiko says, "Hello, Father, I'm home." Lucifer, issue number 18, Forms of Fire. This issue begins with some lines from Paradise Lost by John Milton. "Never can true reconcilement grow where wounds of deadly hate have pierced so deep." And thus begins the fight between Takehiko, Raguel, Michael, and Lucifer. They leap at Lucifer and he grabs the Sword of Eden and steps out of the way. He then slices at them, but Takehiko blocks the blow and gloats that he has the Morningstar powers. Lucifer shoots a huge wall of fire at them and reminds Takehiko that having powers is one thing, knowing how to use them is something completely else. Remember that Sword of Eden? You know why it's so special? Well, it can create portals, and Lucifer uses one to send Raguel far away. Lucifer then flies high into the air with Takehiko and Michael following him closely. Gabriel leaps at Lucifer and Takehiko stabs him in the gut while he is distracted. Lucifer changes his strategy and flies back into the X-Lux. There he fends off Takehiko and Michael, and this is when Arabelle opens the front door. Upon seeing the fight, she panics, jumps in, and shoots a spell at Michael. Her powers, however, seem to have been enhanced, and her eyes glow just like the angels as she casts the spell. Lucifer opens another portal and sends Michael away. He then plunges the Sword of Eden into Takehiko's chest and then burns him using his Morningstar powers. Arabelle rejoices because she thinks she just killed an angel, and Lucifer tells her to stop celebrating because Michael is far from dead. All she has done is bruise his ego. She then unleashes her anger on Lucifer. He sent her to fetch Gabriel's heart because he knew she would be tempted by it, which in turn would enhance her powers. And this is when Lucifer reveals that he did so, manipulated her because he needs her help. She needs to watch over X-Lux while he is gone. She then lets go of her anger and, as a last wish, asks if she can take a selfie with his son. Lucifer reluctantly agrees, and Arabelle gets an excellent selfie with the dying Prince of Hell twice over. Lucifer then carries Takehiko's body to Hell, only to come face to face with Mazakine's dead body in the throne room. He demands to know who did this, and upon learning that it was the cowards who hide in the house of windowless rooms, Lucifer drags Takehiko to his mother. All along the way, Takehiko continues to mock Lucifer. He has lost now that his beloved Mazakine is dead. He will be forced to spend all of eternity alone. Lucifer doesn't acknowledge his taunts and instead tries to negotiate his life in exchange for Rosemary. Izanami calls his bluff. If he was going to kill Takehiko, he would have done so already. Angered, Lucifer decides to grant Izanami her only wish, something she has wished for centuries. He begins conjuring up a towering wall of fire. However, this is when Gabriel flies in and tells him to stop. Lucifer angrily tells Gabriel that Mazakine has been murdered, and Gabriel promises him vengeance once they have taken care of the bigger threat. Right now, they need to focus on the bigger picture. Lucifer threatens his son one last time, and like father, like son, Takehiko tells him, "Have fun back in your ruined mortal kingdom. Mother and I will be toasting to Rosemary tonight." Gabriel and Lucifer then fly back to X-Lux, and Gabriel tells him that he flew to heaven all by himself. Lucifer remarks that it wasn't very wise to do so, and this is when Gabriel tells him about what he saw. He saw Raphael tending to the new god as if he were sick or injured. He then repeats the exact words the new god said to Raphael, "Free me of this contamination." Gabriel doesn't know what it means, but it seems Lucifer does. Reggie, Asbel, and Lauren then tell Lucifer that Ian Sante came by while he was gone, and he offered to help them with their repairs. Lucifer notices that they are all smitten by Ian, and this is quite odd considering not even he can have that kind of effect on people. He then calls Lauren and tells him to go to Ian's office tomorrow to convey a message that Lucifer and him will have a meeting in Xlux tomorrow. Lauren does as he is told, which leaves Gabriel and Lucifer to discuss matters about the new god and Raphael in private. When Lauren reaches Ian's office, he is awfully welcoming. When Lauren delivers the message, Ian makes his move and tries to poach him. He tells Lauren that he has a business partner who finds him to be quite promising, and this is when Malphus shows himself and tells Lauren, "You have been maltreated and underestimated your whole life, isn't that right? Deserted by friends and lovers alike, and used by men like the so-called Morningstar. You are a child. Only I can save you. Only I can make you great." A scared Lauren quickly leaves the room, and this is when Ian offers to let security stop him, but Malphus says, "No, he'll be back, just as you were." Meanwhile in Hell, Izanami, Asmodeus, and Beelzebub march into the throne room to reap their rewards. Each of them wants something. Asmodeus wants Mazakine's mask, Beelzebub wants her cape, and Izanami wants her throne and her head. She will put it on a stake outside the castle so that no one has any doubts about who sits on the throne of Hell. She then offers a knife to Rosemary. The hunter always gets to skin their kill. It's tradition and a last test of loyalty. Back at the Xlux, a spooked Lauren returns and tells Lucifer and Gabriel about the encounter. Lucifer sips his drink and tells Lauren to hold on, because things are only going to get weirder. Lucifer then tells him to open his shirt, and there, right in the center, etched onto his skin, is the mark of a demon. They tell Lauren about Malphus and order him not to leave Xlux for a few days. Lauren asks about Malphus, and Arabelle says, "He's a collector, you know, of power, control, dark magic, and dummies like you." Arabelle then blames Lucifer for framing and manipulating the kid to confirm his suspicions, but Lucifer tells her that he did it for the bigger cause. He then turns to Lauren and says, "Lauren, what you did tonight will no doubt save lives. Perhaps many lives. Is that alright with you?" Lauren nods because Raphael would have done the same. But Arabelle has grown wary of Lucifer, and she vows not to let Lauren get hurt again by him or anyone else. Meanwhile, Jill is driving Rachel, Medjean, and her daughter Noema to Los Angeles, their next destination. They are outside Quartzsite, Arizona on the I-10 when Jill notices an angel flying through the air. Soon he is joined by an army, and both Medjean and Noema remark that this is happening too early. Jill chides her daughter for not telling her before, and this is when they reveal that Rachel is their secret weapon. Rachel realizes what the girls mean, and when the moment is perfect, she orders Jill to turn right. Back in the Xlux, Gabriel pesters Lucifer about what he saw in heaven, what it all means, and Lucifer tells him that it has given him a way to kill the new god. At least that's what he thinks. He won't know for sure until they are face to face. However, before they kill the new god, he has Gabriel make him a promise. In case Lucifer is wrong and he falls, Gabriel is to take Arabelle and the remaining demons and kill everyone inside the house of windowless rooms. Gabriel happily makes the promise because he would love nothing more. Lucifer, issue number 19. An end, a beginning. This time the comic doesn't have a quote, just a Yiddish expression. If God lived on Earth, all his windows would be broken. And so a plan has been formed and everyone has been told the part they'll be playing. Everyone except Arabelle and Gabriel, who have been told to wait for Lucifer's signal. Everyone is sure about their part. Jill is naturally worried about the girls. As for Lauren, he doesn't know what part he is going to play. Arabelle bluntly tells him he's their bait. He's the worm on the hook. All he has to do is jiggle. Lucifer then departs with Rachel, and thus their plan begins. Sometime later, Jill sits at the bar alone when Ian shows up for the meeting he was told about last night. Jill pulls out a gun, points it at him, and then orders him to call Malphus and tell him that Lauren wants to join them. Ian tries to weasel his way out of the situation, but Jill doesn't budge, and when the girls show themselves, he is forced to comply. Meanwhile, Rachel leads Lucifer on a spirit walk to the Silver City. She tells him that she's worried. What if she can't find her way back? And Lucifer promises to find her no matter what. But it would be better if she didn't get lost. She then asks if the angels will know they are coming, and Lucifer reveals that they won't be looking, because this is something they haven't seen before. When they reach the Silver City, Rachel admires it, while Lucifer tells her that it has been turned into a cheap parody of what it used to be. Meanwhile, in hell, Izanami holds Mazakine's head aloft and declares herself to be the queen. However, this is when Asmodeus and Beelzebub stab her in the back and take Takehiko hostage. Neither of them want to be the next demons with their heads on stakes outside the castle. Izanami, enraged, orders all the demons and Lilim, now at her command, to attack Asmodeus and Beelzebub. Ian continues to annoy Jill with his antics, but then Malphus finally arrives. As soon as he enters, he doesn't even address the others and is solely focused on Lauren. Medjean and Noema angrily tell Malphus that they knew he'd come. They had seen it, and Malphus tells Lauren to get rid of the girls. Instead, Lauren says, "I don't know what exactly you tried to do to me, but I know it was bad. You're never going to do it again." And Malphus angrily replies, "Watch your tone, boy. You carry my mark. I own you." However, this is when the floor begins to glow and Medjean and Noema tell him that they have trapped him in a binding circle. The girls set the demon on fire and Arabelle and Gabriel remark that the two of them seem to be having fun. This is when Arabelle begins to argue that they should jump into action. What are they doing sitting around waiting for Lucifer's signal? He sure as hell wouldn't do the same. Gabriel angrily tells Arabelle that the last thing Lucifer told him to do was to go to hell and destroy the House of Windowless Rooms, and this is when he realizes that they should go do that. Meanwhile, in the Silver City, Lucifer beheads an angel and a demon when they try to stop him. As their heads hit the floor, Lucifer reminds them that the new god inside is not his father, and neither was he theirs. Lucifer then walks into the throne room and the new god screams, "How dare you invade my domain, filthy beast!" And this word, filth, is what gives Lucifer an idea of how to kill the new god. Contamination, corruption, like Briadoc said, and Gabriel confirmed, is the key. The new god treasures his purity, which is why he can't face the opposite, which is Lucifer. He knows the new god can barely stand to touch him, so what would he do when the heart of a fallen angel, now sworn to hell, is thrown at him? Lucifer then chucks Gabriel's heart at the new god, and the creature begins to writhe and scream in pain. He manages to stab Lucifer in the gut. We now switch to Hell, where Arabelle and Gabriel have just arrived. They watch as the confrontation between Izanami and the demons grows intense. She thinks Asmodeus is bluffing, and Asmodeus laughs and claims that he would kill Takehiko for less. However, this is when he is stabbed through the chest by a huge sword, and Beelzebub uses this distraction to flee. However, Arabelle uses her newfound powers to destroy him, and as Asmodeus's body falls apart into two pieces, it is revealed that Mazikeen is still alive. Rosemary then stabs Izanami in the back, and their plan has finally come to fruition. Turns out Yikon is the hero of the day because he shapeshifted into Mazikeen and sacrificed himself for their cause, as did Rosemary, and Mazikeen assigns her as the Regent of Hell in her absence. Takehiko turns to his love and asks her how she could do this, and Rosie bluntly tells him that his mother is a stone-faced bitch, and that she doesn't want her as a mother-in-law. Mazikeen then declares the fate of Izanami and her son. They will be sent back to the House of Windowless Rooms in Yomi and sealed there forever, so that they can enjoy all of eternity as a happy family. Gabriel sighs because they came to hell for nothing, and Arabelle tells him to look on the bright side. She got to kill one of the high demons. Back in the Silver City, the new god continues to writhe and scream in pain. The pain from Gabriel's heart was no doubt excruciating, but the pain from touching Lucifer was immensely more. It's why he has to let go of him, and now Lucifer begins methodically slicing pieces off of the new god using the Sword of Eden. First go the tentacles, then part of his face, along with his left eye. The new god summons his children to save him, but unfortunately, they are too late. Lucifer decapitates the creature, and this frees all the angels and demons. Raphael instantly rushes to Lucifer. He wants to go to Lauren, and Lucifer leads him away. Back in the X-Lux, the two lovers are reunited, and Gabriel exasperatedly says that he missed the fight in heaven too. This is when Raphael tells him that he has found a solution. Gabriel can take his heart, which will grant him entry into heaven, while Raphael gets to spend his life with Lauren. Gabriel can't bring himself to do that, and so Lucifer jumps in, plunges his hand into Raphael's chest, and pulls out his heart. He then hands it over to Gabriel and says, "Must I do everything myself?" He then turns to Ian. He can either die by Lucifer's hands and go to hell, or walk through the crowd of demons in the X-Lux and try to escape. The X-Lux isn't a club, it's a sanctuary for existence's outcasts. Ian tried to take it from them, and a cowering Ian quickly chooses the latter option. And then once the heroes of the day are alone in the room again, Lucifer says, God is dead, or dead enough for our purposes. The problem is that the universe needs a god to oversee it. Any volunteers? Arabelle is the first one to opt out, and Lucifer tells her that she was never in the running, because she will be playing her own part. With her new power, Arabelle will be God's new agent on Earth. The girls are the ones who opt out next. Medjean doesn't know yet who she is, and Noema remarks that she hasn't even gone out on a date yet. Lucifer then turns to Jill and Rachel and tells them that they are in the running too. Because neither of them steps up, Lucifer decides to get Reggie involved. After all, if one of them is to be chosen as God, the one who will be guiding humankind, it seems appropriate for a mortal to choose the god. He tells Reggie to pick numbers between 1 to 10 to decide who will be God, and Lucifer walks outside so that he can't be blamed for influencing the outcome. There he meets Mazikeen, who says that she is disappointed he didn't destroy hell because of her death. Lucifer smirks and tells her that he knew it was all a part of her plan. If she had truly died, he would have destroyed the entire creation. Lucifer then remarks how the X-Lux needs to be renovated, and Mazikeen says that he should do that soon, because he will soon have competition. She has plans of opening her own club there. The two tease each other and kiss because they will finally get to be close to each other, and the voices coming out of the X-Lux tell us that a new god has been decided. Someone says, I suppose I won, but the rest of you have to do the job with me. Then the rest of them protest and say, you can't do that, and the new presence says, sure I can, I am God.